Tipp Today, in association with Slattery's of Pecan, your main Peugeot dealer for over 50 years in the Premier County. Slattery'sGarage.ie.
Good morning, welcome along to Tipp Today. 1800 938 007, that's our free phone number. It won't cost you a penny if you'd like to make a call to us. And Ali is producing today. Coming up on the show, Tipperary hit by freezing conditions, but how long will it all last? Why today is the most popular day to quit your job. Predictions for 2026 from Old Moore's Almanac. We'll be hearing from Francis with some financial advice for the brand new year. Muriel has some health advice for you. The situation in Venezuela. Thomas Conway will talk to us about that. Our baby sleep expert, Caroline, will be with us. And our mindfulness expert, Susan, will be here as well. So all of that and much, much more on the way. You can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. You can email tiptoday@tipfm.com. Let's have a look at the front pages of some of your newspapers. Now, as you can imagine, all the newspapers, all the front pages, nothing, only talk about Venezuela and Donald Trump. The Irish Independent leading with that story, and they're telling us that the US President yesterday warned Venezuelan Vice President Delcy Rodriguez that she might pay a bigger price than ousted leader Nicolas Maduro if she doesn't do what is right. The Irish Daily Mail. Do the right thing or else. Trump's warning to the brand new leader is the headline there on the Irish Daily Mail. To the Examiner. And again, the headline, outraged Venezuelan government united behind Maduro after capture. And they're telling us that a top Venezuelan official has declared that the country's government would stay unified behind President Nicolas Maduro, whose capture by the US has sparked deep uncertainty for the oil-rich South American nation. Also on the Examiner today, a rather worrying story that children are being bombarded online by so-called AI girlfriend porn apps, which are grooming boys to perpetrate sexual violence and girls to accept such behaviour. And also on the Examiner today, we're reading that Micheál Martin will become the first Taoiseach for 14 years to meet with a Chinese president when he sits down with Mr. Xi in Beijing today, seeking to strengthen economic and political ties between the two nations. You'd wonder what the Foreign Minister Simon Harris is doing, seeing that Micheál is jetting all over the world over the last few months. But there you go. The Irish Times, dominated by a remarkable photograph indeed of Pau Dwyer. A picture from training in Limerick in 2018, but the father of three died over the weekend, aged 40. He was a Limerick native. He held the title of Ireland's strongest man a record 5 times, and he was the second Irishman in history to win the UK's strongest man title. But a remarkable picture there of him hoisting a huge stone. Also on the Times today, the headline there, United States to maintain military quarantine of Venezuela. And they're also telling us that TUSLA paid more than €36 million to private operators to accommodate vulnerable children in unregulated placements in the first 7 months of last year. So that's a look at what's making front pages on some of your newspapers. Would you like to make comment on any of that? And if so, once again, you can text and WhatsApp 083 311 3311. Now, road users are being urged to be cautious this morning after an Arctic blast hit the country overnight. Temperatures were below freezing in many areas, with the forecast warning of treacherous travelling conditions throughout the day. But how bad will it get? Well, Cathal Nolan from Ireland's Weather Channel joins me now. Good morning to you, Cathal.
A very good morning, Fran.
And Happy New Year to you to begin with, Cathal. Here in Tipperary, we seem to have escaped the worst of the weather. But what is the situation this morning?
It's very much so in terms of the snowfall that we've seen in some parts of the country. At the moment, there's still some very heavy wintry showers pushing into parts of Ulster, into parts of North Connacht, giving accumulations of snow here in places. Yesterday afternoon and evening, we had some temporary falls of snow in parts of the southwest as well, across the higher ground in Cork and Kerry, and even into West Limerick. Thankfully, Tipperary seems to have missed the worst of that. No reports of any snow coming in from across the county, but we have had some very cold temperatures over the past number of days, and indeed last night was the coldest night so far, with temperatures dipping to -5 and -6 degrees Celsius across the county, leaving road conditions in a treacherous state this morning. Plenty of ice on any untreated road surfaces, and really as we go through the day today, we will have plenty of crisp winter sunshine, but again as we head into this evening, those temperatures will fall back below freezing once again, leading to a renewed risk of frost and ice. That's before we see temperatures actually rise as we go through the early hours of tomorrow morning, with a front pushing in from the west. That will lead to perhaps a little bit of hill sleet at times, but generally speaking, it will fall as rain at lower levels.
I was in Claremorris in Mayo last night, and just as I was leaving about 10 o'clock, it was starting to snow there. But it was remarkable how the weather changed as I got down the country, Cathal.
Absolutely. I suppose for a country that's so small, we see at times such a variance of weather conditions. That was emphasised really yesterday quite widely across the country. From doing the weather and from our services here at Ireland's Weather Channel, we have people that we've become friendly with over the years from various parts of the country. There's a colleague, a friend of ours, based in the Spurn Mountains in Tyrone, and he sent us in pictures over the last number of days, up to 25 centimetres of snow. I'm pretty sure it's over a foot of snow at this point, recorded there in the last number of days. Compare that to where I'm broadcasting from right now, which is there's a very good reception. I was there for a morning walk down the bog locally here in North Offaly, and we've had essentially, I think we saw maybe 2 flakes of snow during the entire event, but very cold and frosty conditions here as well this morning. All the little small lakes and ponds around the bogs here frozen solid, and it's very, you know what, it's pleasant to see at this time of the year, to see those seasonal conditions.
Of course, let us not forget, Cathal, that this time last year we were under a blanket of snow, were we not?
That certainly is the case, and again, one of our followers reminded us of that yesterday, that this time last year we saw that very heavy snowfall event throughout much of Tipperary, really blanketed the county for a number of days, and indeed left a couple of communities very much isolated given the extent of the snow and then the subsequent freezing temperatures that we recorded in the days following that. The snowfall, of course, this time last year, got up to 50, 60 centimetres in some parts of West and North Cork, into parts of East Kerry and West Limerick, and even across Tipperary as well. I think there was over 15 to 20 centimetres recorded in places. So perhaps a little bit remarkable that almost for the third year running, we've seen a cold spell occurring just after Christmas and just as we started into the new year. It seems to be becoming perhaps a new trend that we see this particular spell becoming that little bit colder than normal.
Do you despair of some of the clickbait stuff that's been going on, though, over the past 10 days or so? I mean, some of the online predictions that we were going to get down to -10, -14 in one particular case, one piece that I read. Does that annoy the hell out of you, Cathal?
It does when it's not taken in context. So when there's not an explanation behind that, when you see it as a headline or clickbait, it becomes very frustrating. As a meteorologist looking at the last 2 weeks, let's say, and we were looking at this particular event upcoming, in some scenarios and some model runs, we had situations whereby snowfall was more widespread across the country. And when we see widespread snowfall followed by a couple of clear, cold nights, you can indeed see temperatures approaching -10, -14 degrees Celsius. So there would have been some weather models that were showing that. What happens nowadays is essentially newspapers and journalists that work for certain newspapers will look through these various weather models and will try and find the outlier in the forecast, the one that tells them it's going to be -14, that we're going to see 30 centimetres of snow, and they lead with that picture and image, and of course it becomes viral. Clickbait, as you would say, and as a consequence of that, then we see these kind of wild theories or stories gathering legs, and oftentimes it's then directed back towards us in that we're getting asked questions. Is this a likelihood? Is it a possibility? Have you seen that we're due to get -14 and 2 foot of snow. So yeah, it can be very frustrating from our perspective, and we do advise people to of course check all their usual sources, check the ones that they trust and that they know deliver an accurate forecasting service, and of course Met Éireann as well.
So will you give me some accuracy then for the next few days? You said it's going to get rather cold tonight again, Cathal, is that it?
It is indeed, Fran. So temperatures will drop below freezing once again this evening, down as low as -2, -3 degrees Celsius before we see that cloud gathering and those temperatures start to rise towards the early hours of tomorrow morning. We will see a milder day overall tomorrow, but still temperatures only around about average, maybe even a degree or so cooler still than average than we would expect to see this time of the year, but more in the way of cloudy conditions. The possibility of some outbreaks of rain, generally speaking pretty light, but an overcast murky day, not very pleasant. Similar conditions expected then on Wednesday, but that's after the risk of frost again on Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. But Wednesday itself, another front pushes in, a little bit of a risk of hail snow in places, but generally speaking it will fall as sleet or rain, so no accumulations or disruption expected. Thursday is the day that we have a very big question mark over at the moment. The weather models are showing a deep area of low pressure developing to our southwest, and that potentially could interact with the colder air in place across the country. And in some model scenarios, and again, we're getting back to these possibilities and percentages, but in some of the weather model runs the GFS, which is the American model, and the UK Met Office model this morning, there is the risk of some snow across the country. Most likely it would be hill snow, a little bit perhaps like the event last year in terms of the disruption, only maybe not quite as widespread. But alternatively, then the ECMWF, the European model, which will be one of the more trusted models, keeps that system well to the south. We just see some outbreaks of rain and potentially gale force winds from it. But there's a big question mark over Thursday, and we would advise everybody just to keep up to date with the forecast regarding the outcome on Thursday. Thereafter, it remains cool and unsettled, varying at times a risk of wintry showers, colder conditions overnight with risk of frost and ice, but generally speaking, temperatures around about average for the time of year.
Cathal, thanks very much indeed for your time this morning. Thank you. Good morning to you and Happy New Year again, Cathal. Thank you. Good morning. That's Cathal Nolan there from Ireland's Weather Channel speaking to us. 1800 938 007. Glad to be joined now by Inspector James White. Good morning to you, James.
Good morning, Fran, and a very happy New Year to you and your listeners.
And many happy returns to you and to all your colleagues as well, James. How are the roads around Tipperary this morning?
Well, in general, Frank, I think the main roads, Fran, are pretty good because obviously they all would have been treated overnight. But it's the by roads. I know personally this morning coming to work as I was making my way onto the main road from the by road, in places they're a bit slippy, particularly in places with shaded. And it's to be expected because we all know the locality in which we live, the areas to watch out for, the roads that have not been treated. And so it's just what I would say to people is just a little bit of caution. And my pet hate, and I've said this over the years, is when you get up in the morning and your car is frozen, will you please take time to fully defrost your car before bringing it onto the road? We've seen, and I saw one car this morning where there was a little spot in the middle of the window where the person had de-thawed, and they were looking through that, and the windows on the left and the right were totally frozen. And in actual fact, that is an offence, because you're driving carelessly, which brings in the offence of careless driving. So all I say to people is please warm up the car properly, defrost the car thoroughly before you bring it onto the road. And then when you are approaching a stop sign or a yield sign, just allow that little bit extra space when you're braking. Brake that little bit earlier, not so severely, and keep that distance from the car in front on the side roads. It's just a small bit of common courtesy to our other road users. And Fran, the other thing I would say this morning is that some of the paths in places, again, may be slippy.
Yes.
So just a bit of caution on the footpaths. But the other thing I would say is a bit of good manners that we could all maybe adopt this morning is it's the opportunity maybe to check in on elderly neighbours this morning. We've all got neighbours and relations who might be ones who would regularly walk the shop for the paper, perhaps walk the mass. And on a morning like this, they are a little bit more vulnerable for a spill or a slip. So maybe we should check in on them. How are they fixed this morning? Can we do anything for them? Can we bring in a bit of fuel for them? Perhaps there's maybe one exposed pipe that might be after they're freezing over overnight, and maybe a small bit of help might be required. So it's a day maybe just to check in on neighbours and friends. Can we give them a dig out? And if so, let's do it.
That's very good advice indeed. I have to say that I was travelling last night from Mayo, James, and in fairness to the local authorities, they have been looking after the roads with grit and the like.
Absolutely, I've seen it myself. We've all seen it for the last week in particular. They have been out regularly. And I think, if we're honest about it, for the last number of years, really, things have improved dramatically in that front. The equipment is after improving much better, and they are out there, and they're out early. In fairness, we have to give credit for that. And they are treating all of the major roads. Like, if we look at Tipperary, for example, by and large, it's a rural county. There are a huge number of byroads, so it's impossible for any authority to treat every road. And we all know the roads in our localities which are treated, and we know the roads that are not. So the local authorities can't do the impossible. So it's just maybe to be extra cautious on the roads which we know are not treated. But we have to acknowledge the good work done by the authorities, in fairness. I do agree with you, Fran.
Of course, more deaths on our roads over the last week or so as well, which, tragedy like that for families, it seems like it's on the increase all of the time now, James.
Yes, Fran, unfortunately we saw it. Particularly, we saw it firsthand here in Tipperary in the month of December with the deaths that we had on the road. And we saw the national profile it reached there that deaths had gone up this year. I think it was 180 deaths on the Irish roads. And then the island of Ireland, I think in 24 hours we lost 3. There was 2 single vehicle accidents and one up north. Fran, is it frustrating? Oh my God, it is so frustrating that we can only do so much. We can talk to you, we can talk to other media outlets, we can educate people in schools, we can encourage parents to talk to their children, we can show a presence on the road. The government can introduce policies that there's penalty points and for so much, if one is speeding, seatbelts, mobile phones, etc. But it's not the personal behaviour. One of the biggest things is when you, I, or any of your listeners this morning get behind the wheel of the car, we are responsible for our own actions. It is my decision if I want to speed. I make that decision. It is my decision if I want to do a dangerous overtake and put people in danger. It is my decision if I don't wear a seatbelt. So it's personal responsibility. And we can do so much, but really it's until the mindset changes in people that you sit into any modern car nowadays, Fran, and you will not be able to start your journey without a seatbelt being engaged. Yeah. But yet, in serious incidents, serious injury accidents, and in some fatal collisions, people are not wearing seatbelts. So it is obvious then that they click in the seatbelt, start the car, and then make a conscious decision to disconnect it. And I personally cannot comprehend how anyone would do that. But it does happen, because how else could it possibly be? And then we see accidents with 4, 5, and 6 people in the car. There are 5 seatbelts in the majority of cars. So how is it that you're permitting people to be in your car who are not belted up properly? In addition to that, I would say 90% of the cars on the road nowadays have a Bluetooth facility. But yet, people make a conscious decision not to pair off their mobile phone with the car. And for example, in my own car, and I'm sure, Fran, similar to you, once you get into the car, it automatically pairs off to the car because you have it set up. But yet people, for some reason, I'm talking about people in cars that are 2, 3 and 4 years old, pretty much brand new vehicles, and they then make a conscious decision to ignore the Bluetooth facility and use the mobile phone while driving. And what people must remember is that the offence from the Garda point of view, it's not that you were using the mobile phone as in you were ringing Fran Curry or James White. The offence is holding the mobile phone while driving. So that incorporates if you have the phone out, you're looking at it, be it a news update, be it a text message or WhatsApp, whatever the case may be, that is the offence. And the other thing, Fran, is drinking and drug driving. You saw my colleague Liam Geraghty, the press officer, he gave an interview to the media just between Christmas and the New Year in relation, and he gave the figures in relation to those detected for drink and drug driving over Christmas and the period. And if my memory serves me correctly, he gave the percentage of those arrested as 43% for drug driving in relation to those arrests. It is very, very much on the increase, but also our ability to detect people driving while under the influence of drugs is increasing dramatically. And I see it because I prosecute here several times a month in the district court in Thurles. And the number of people come before the court for drug driving. And bear in mind, drugs remains in your system substantially longer than drink does. Fran, if you or I were off a few pints last night, you and I know this morning, okay, listen, I know I've had a few pints last night. I give till midday. I'll have the breakfast and then I'll strike off. Whereas if you or I were out last night and we did some cocaine or we're smoking cannabis, whatever the case may be, that is still in the system this time tomorrow, I guarantee you. And once a person is convicted for drugs driving, it's mandatory. 12 months off the road, end of. Now, it's a substantial penalty, but in my opinion, it's worth it. It is required. We need a deterrent. Because it's not all about enforcement, it's education, etc. But unless people change their own habits and make a conscious decision to stop taking drugs and driving, to stop drinking and driving, this time next year, Fran, we could very well be talking about an increase in deaths on the road again, nationally, and unfortunately in Tipperary.
Yeah, and you mentioned education there, and I heard the Minister for State speaking about this yesterday, and again bringing up education. But for my money, James, we were never as educated as to how to keep ourselves safe on the roads.
That's a very fair point, Frank. Fran, and I do agree with you in that regard because, for example, all of this morning in the media, etc. But if we look at the cohort of people who are unfortunately, I suppose, the victims of serious collisions and fatalities on the roads, it's that younger cohort and unfortunately the young male driver. So I think that by getting in early in the education side of it, you're talking about perhaps targeting the transition year group in school, and we have gone in there and educated in that regard. But you get through to some people, but unfortunately, you won't get through to all people, and that is the same for everything in life. But I think we just can't give up because it could be one of our close relations, our close family friends, one by one the next day, and we have to do it. It's a battle in a way, but the end goal is worth achieving. So it's a case of we must stick with it. And one life lost is one life way, way too many.
Well, that's for sure. James, thank you for your time today. And as I say, a happy new year to you and your colleagues. Thanks, James. Good morning.
Thanks,
to you. That's Inspector James White speaking to us this morning. 1800 938 007. The text and WhatsApp is 083 311 3311. And of course, I gave... as if he hasn't enough to do, I gave Simon Harris the portfolio of foreign affairs there earlier on. Of course, he's in finance now. It's Helen McEntee is Minister for Foreign Affairs and Trade. I wonder, is her nose out of joint a little bit at the notion that Muriel seems to be flag hopping around the globe, and he's in China today. I wonder, does that trouble her? Maybe she doesn't care. I don't know. We'll be back in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Now, one of our listeners on to say, good morning, Fran, Happy New Year. I just had a car in front of me do an emergency stop. Stopped on the top of a hill just because he couldn't see when the sun hit his windscreen, says one of our listeners out there. I was lucky not to rear end him because of what he did. Please pull in, clear your windscreen in a safe way, because when the low sun hits you, you will be blinded, says James, who's in New Inn today. 083 311 3311. Now, if you're planning on quitting your job today, well, you're not alone. 1 in 10 even intends to pack in their work this month, and a third of those will do it today. Would you believe? Now, a survey by ACS found that a quarter of workers say their job makes them unhappy, with 41% saying they want a career overhaul. Half of workers say they're forced down a career path they didn't choose, with many blaming their poor parents. Now, Karen O'Reilly is from EmployMum, recruitment agency, and she joins me now. Good morning to you, Karen.
Good morning, Fran. How are you this morning?
I'm well, and a happy new year to you. Do you go along with that today could be a quit day for a lot of people, Karen?
Absolutely. It's a very real story.
Is it? Yeah.
January consistently sees one of the biggest spikes in job searching every year. And as you said, the recruitment platforms will report activity jumping by about 20 to 30% compared to December. So look, and today alone tells its own story. It's -4 here in Cork. Schools are opening late and parents are scrambling, and EmployMum and EmployFlex, we exist because good people, I suppose, are being pushed out of work for things that are completely outside their control, and flexible jobs really keep people working and rigid ones don't, I guess.
And, I mean, how much of it is the natural feeling we all have about going back to work and, as you say, dark, cold mornings and all of that thing, like going back to school? How much of it is that? Is it just natural kind of unrest?
Well, absolutely. We've got short daylight hours. We've got the cold weather. We've just had 2 weeks off, and we've been partying for 2 weeks. If you're Irish, you have been anyway.
Yes.
So January consistently ranks as one of the lowest well-being months of the year as well. So it's your brain chemistry, I suppose, and the weather ganging up on you and saying, look, it's time for a change. You kind of have this clarity moment as well. Psychologists will talk about, when you step away from something, you see it more clearly. So you're back to work now and you're going like, what the hell am I doing this for? I don't want to get up early in the dark and have zero flexibility at work. And why am I bending my whole life around a job? So these are the questions that people are asking themselves now as they go back to work today.
Yeah, and do you go along with that line in the research as well that's making the point that some people were forced down particular career paths that they didn't choose, and many of them blaming their parents where that's concerned as well? Do you come across that quite a lot, Karen?
Well, that can be true, I guess, in some instances, but I suppose, people get themselves into financial situations where, they have, the two people have to work in a family situation if they want to buy a house or something like that. So, I suppose that's where flexible work comes in is again, we're advocates for flexible work so that, two people can work, but maybe maybe one person can work from home or one person can work part-time and making, family life a bit better like that. I do see as well, I have a 20-year-old and an 18-year-old, and some of the parents do, I think, push their children down certain routes, which I suppose you might regret later in life indeed.
And is that changing? Because, again, some of the research saying that that's kind of changing, that parents are now more likely to go along with a young person's dream or a vision of what it is they want to do with their careers.
Yeah, well, look, what I see, I've got a Leaving Cert student now this year as well, and I think a lot of it is like, look, if the child gets 600 points, it does very well in their Leaving Cert. They must go and do medicine or something like that, with the high points. Yeah. Whereas that might not necessarily be what the child wants. They might want to be a teacher, for example, or a carpenter. So they shouldn't be pushed to go into the roles that are necessarily equating the high points like medicine or dentistry or veterinary or something like that, So that's where I think the issue lies. And also the snobbery that attaches with, having to go to third level education where an apprenticeship, might suit a child as well. It might be definitely in this era of AI might be the better choice for a lot of people.
Your own story is very interesting, Karen, if you don't mind my bringing that up, because you were an accountant for many years and you sort of fell into what you're doing at the moment, so to speak. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah. So I qualified as an accountant and didn't really love it, I have to say. But I lived in France for a number of years. I lived in France for 12 years and had my children there. And so when I moved back to Ireland, I wanted something flexible as my children were going to Irish schools after coming out of French schools. And I wanted to work flexibly. So when I looked for a flexible job, I found that there was nobody there to help me find one, or they just weren't there. So when I did a bit of research, I realised that there was a lot of other mothers like me who were looking for flexibility, who really did want to work. I really did want to work, but not a traditional 9 to 5, because I want to be there for the kids when they came home from school. So that's where the idea came from. EmployMum was born. And since then, that was 2016, we've been helping mothers and others find flexible work in the workplace.
Is it particularly difficult for women who might like to change career path? Are there particular difficulties there?
I say it's difficult for everybody who wants to change career path, really. But I think it's not like the landscape has changed, I guess. I mean, before you went into a job and that was a job for life, you were an accountant for life. Now it's quite okay to use your transferable skills and change roles. There's also a lot of support out there. There's a lot of springboard courses that are available for less, more or less for free or heavily subsidized, and they can help you change careers and, again, build on what you have and change direction. But I wouldn't say it's more difficult. I suppose post-COVID as well, there's more of an open attitude towards flexibility and also, pivoting in your career as well.
Did I not get the feeling, though, that last year there was a bit of a rollback on that kind of flexibility, particularly where working from home is concerned? Some companies rolling back on that?
100%, Fran. Yeah. There is a huge RTO, return to office feeling out there, especially coming from the large multinationals. But I think that's where the SMEs can shine here now, and compete with the multinationals. It's always very difficult for small businesses, and in the Midlands and the Round Tipper area, there will be a lot of small businesses operating there, and this is where they can now shine. And they can attract the best talent out there by offering the flexibility, by offering the hybrid working, and competing against the giants. Where before it was very difficult to compete with salary and all the benefits that they offer, but now the SMEs have that opportunity to do that and be more flexible and offer those advantages to the employee.
All right, Karen, good to talk to you and a happy new year to you, and thanks for coming on with us this morning. Good morning to you. That's Karen O'Reilly there from EmployMum. What about you? Are you unhappy in your job? You're thinking about changing your job. Have you done that? And have you done that successfully? We'd love to hear your story where that is concerned. Mike was on to say, good morning, Fran. Just back from my school bus run. Most people driving slow and steady, but one car overtook me and the two cars in front of me as if it were a summer's morning. Obviously late for work or something, but they had to be doing well over 100k. That was on the road between Golden and New Win. Are you serious? God, wow. It couldn't be sure was that road treated. I drive every day and the sheer recklessness I see at times is crazy. The amount of aggressive driving. People block junctions. They won't give way to bigger vehicles, even if it's going to help them to let that big vehicle off. The only thing they see is a 25 foot in front of their car and where they're not moving with no brain engagement. It's crazy stuff out there, says Mike too as well. It's interesting, as I said a couple of times this morning, I was travelling on the roads last night from Mayo. I was kind of trying to take it easy, even though the roads were well treated. But you're right. I mean, the amount of people just taking chances and flying as if there was no weather issue whatsoever. Anyway, we'll take a break. Back with more Tip Today in just a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tip Today on 1-800-938-007.
Now, have you made New Year's resolutions? And if so, would you like to share with us what they are? Because we'll be talking about this a little later on in the programme. So if you have a New Year's resolution, or indeed if you have some advice to give to our listeners for the new year, we'd be delighted to hear from you where that is concerned. And it's something we all do, I suppose, every year. I'm going to put it out there, I'm going to try dry January. And we'll see how I get on where that is concerned. I'll keep you up to date. I won't be having my little glass of a Merlot or two And we'll see what happens where that is concerned. I won't make any more rash statements on that for fear of failing miserably. But there you go. 083 311 3311, the text and WhatsApp. You can email us, by the way, at any time, and that's tiptoday@tipfm.com. Now, many people on to us about the whole business of what's been happening in Venezuela, and we will be speaking to Thomas, who does our global news slot for us about that, and we'll get all the latest information where that is concerned as well. All right. Okay, let's play. We were waiting for somebody else here, but we're going to go with a pre-record, because just before Christmas, you see, I was talked into heading off to get a bit of a tattoo done, and Ali tagged along with me, and she recorded the whole business, and this is what happened.
Okay, Fran, tell the people where we are today.
Well, we're at a tattoo parlour. I never in my life thought I would find myself...
Say it again, what?
A tattoo parlour.
A tattoo. And what in the name of God possessed you to do this?
Well, it's you and Leanne. Okay. I mean, you said that we had to do something that was a bit different, and I was to go outside my comfort zone. And here I am. I hate tattoos, I hate needles, and I hate pain. So this is going to be great crack.
But you kind of want... You've been talking the last year that you kind of want a tattoo, though, haven't you? Like, it's been in your head.
Well, no.
It was.
Well, we sort of mentioned it every now and again. But you took the ball and ran with it, and here I am.
Here you are. What are we getting done?
I have a little granddaughter called Ellie, and we got an image of her hand, her little hand, which is so cute. And yeah, that's what I'm going to get put on my arm.
Lovely.
Okay, the inside. Well, that's the plan anyway.
Okay. All right, let's go in.
All right, let's do it.
So my name is Muriel as a tattoo artist name, and the real name is Muriel.
You haven't been here all that long, have you?
No, we actually opened it on the end of September. I think it was like the 27th of September.
How's it been going?
Booming.
Right.
It's great. It's great. A great vibe, great place, great people all the time in and out the door. It's amazing.
Yeah. Do you have many people like Fran now, men of a certain vintage, coming in for their first one?
Absolutely. Definitely.
A tattoo virgin.
Is it a sign of a midlife crisis?
Could be, but not really.
No, I've had two of those.
Oh,
no, there's actually a lot of people that are getting interested into this kind of art form and expression. So
I'm just looking at your tattoos. They're incredible. I mean, how much time do you?
A lot.
A lot?
A lot of time and a lot of pain as well. So it's...
You see, he mentioned the P word.
But it depends on the part of the body, doesn't it?
It does. It depends on the design. There's a million factors that go into this. You know, like I could go into a series of factors as in diets and sleep patterns and all that. But
Whoops.
most of it's the design itself and what are you willing to get. But we're willing to work with the client. You know, like if I see that somebody is a little bit more stressed, you know, we can just split it up into different sessions. It's not like you're gonna sit down there. You know, I'm just gonna kill you for the 8 hours that there's gonna be.
So today you have to be a man. You just have to be a man. No tears. Suck him up.
I've been told that I'm pretty gentle, so I'll look after him.
All right, should we do this?
Will you show what you're getting done first of all?
Is it possible to get this done?
Exactly. Yeah, we do this quite often. We have a lot
baby's hand.
Exactly. We do this very, very often, to be honest. So what we'll do, we'll take a picture of it. We'll digitize it in our iPads and everything that we have around the studio. We'll measure the size. We'll decide which placement you would like to have it. And then we're good to go.
Is it possible to get it here on the inner arm? Is that how you describe it?
I was about to suggest that.
Were you? Okay.
Is this your first tattoo?
Yes.
Definitely we should go for that placement.
Okay.
Because that's one of the placements I would recommend everybody to get their first ones. Mostly because it's the least painful and it's your first tattoo. You would want to be able to see it. Your inner forma is the placement that you are always going to be in front of you. So
you know they're addictive now. Once you get one, you get a few.
Absolutely.
Don't you?
You'll be covered like me.
You can get the foot the next time then.
All right, shall we do this?
Let's go.
Perfect. Try to relax.
Okay. So this is it.
Okay, here we go.
How is it?
It's okay. It's
So dots are the really fun one because you don't really feel much. It's the lines that they get a bit more tricky.
Yes.
But as soon as you feel uncomfortable, you just let me know, okay?
Okay. Yes. Yeah, well, you definitely feel it. It's like little
pinpricks, is it?
Yeah.
Is that bad?
That's fine. I keep holding my breath like this.
Yeah, you do.
It's because of the expectation. Sometimes when before your appointment, especially if it's your first tattoo, you're like watching videos on YouTube.
Yes.
None of that. It's actually real because it's a fake. I don't know how to call this. It's going to create a fake reaction inside your mind.
Okay.
Then you're going to be like, okay, that guy was crying, so maybe I should feel the same. But then it's not the same thing. And everybody has a different pain tolerance. In my last 7 years, I can't really tell if the same tattoo hurts in the same spot for the same people. It's very difficult.
I was going to ask you that. Where's the most sensitive?
There are general placements. I would say probably the sternum, anything below the knees, in my opinion. It's very, very painful.
Oh, yeah.
Sides, ribs, the armpits, obviously. Anything that, actually, somebody once told me, anywhere it tickles, it's going to hurt. And the reason why is because your nervous system is more active in that area.
Oh, that's
and
really interesting.
you touch it. If you can imagine, like, your skin is riddled with, let's call them sensors, nervous sensors. The same like in acupuncture.
Yes.
Like when you touch one of them, it's going to react. So a reaction is pain. That's the natural one. So obviously I use a needle and then I'm going to touch some of the spots.
So does it feel different to what you expected?
Yeah, it's a bit more painful than I expected.
Okay. Is there anything you've ever had that's comparable to that? Physical now, not emotional.
I don't know. No, not really.
Nothing.
It's kind of strange, yeah.
Are you going to cry?
Well, I hope not.
Nah. I'll make sure you don't.
Because there's all these macho guys around
I know,
me
you
here.
really don't want to let yourself down here.
There's one gentleman who gave me sweets, which was very worrying.
What's your own name?
Daniel.
Daniel, you look like a man who's had a few tattoos there. I know you're in the middle of one today, are you?
Yeah.
How many do you have?
I lost count at this stage, but I found a bit of space, so this is where we're going.
Oh, that's a heart.
That's a heart.
Is that the one you're getting done today?
That's it, yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be the Irish flag colours with Romanian blood coming out of it, so my original Romanian blood coming out of it, so yeah.
Do you look at Fran now with his little piddly old tattoo in his arm and go,
It's
what
lovely.
a blessing.
It's lovely for the first tattoo, but I can guarantee you another year and the arm is going to be full and then it'll be coming back at the neck and
What about that, Daniel? It gets addictive, does it?
I find it soothing pain. Like it's painful, but it's relaxing at the same time. And I love it. Like I just love watching, and like everything I have means something to me. Do you get me? So like I can see for you getting something, something meaningful to you, like So I have seen a lot of people that have different tattoos, or like maybe they mean something to them, but to me it just looks like nothing. Do you get me?
Yeah.
While everything means something. You suffer for it, you took the pain, so it's all lovely. Like.
That one's amazing.
That's on. Yeah. I have a couple of them, yeah.
Which was the sorest one you got?
Yes, I have one on the ribs here. That was one of the first ones that was sore. But
Okay.
The last one.
until the next one, and then you start feeling the pain again, you remind them.
You were giving Fran jellies as well.
I was.
Why is that?
Sugar helps. I find that having sugar in your body or taking a good intake of sugar helps with the pain. Makes you more resistant to the pain or to the burning feeling. That's how I describe it. I don't describe it.
Flask of brandy do that as well.
Yeah, but then, for example, if you drink the night before, you'll be bleeding a lot because the blood is thinner.
Fair
so
enough.
you'll be bleeding a lot, so it'd be harder.
I shouldn't have had that wine last
Oh, no.
It's fine, I'm sure you didn't have 10 litres of it. But no, if you bleed, it makes it harder on the artist to get, the right design and the colours getting into it and stuff like that. So, yeah.
You're never too old, are you? The likes of us coming in here.
Stop! I I'm still trying to get my 65-year-old mother to get it.
Are you?
No, it's okay. And I hope you go through it and don't quit halfway. But I can come over and hold your hand. I can hold your other hand. Okay.
Is it getting sore now?
Well, it's sore. It is sore.
Right.
Do you know?
Out of 10.
Out of 10, no. It's about 4. Maybe,
oh, that's not bad.
5, yeah. But you do begin to tolerate it a bit easier as time goes on. Yeah.
As soon as you leave the door, by the time you get home, you'll forget about what type of pain.
So this is getting more like
Well, I survived this. I can do this again. Why not? Yeah, that's pretty much the most amount of pain that you're going to feel.
Yeah.
I mean, probably 5 minutes from now, you're going to kind of ease into it.
Yeah, what about you, Ellie? Is this what you were expecting?
For pain?
No, just in terms of the whole process.
No, it's like a procedure almost.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Because we're probably of the ilk where we, the old school tattoo parlours where cigarette smoke and you'd be walking in and yeah.
Yeah, it's important to say this place is gorgeous.
It's amazing. It's really like a salon.
We did want it to go away from the image, the old type of image, that everything has to be dark, and only a certain type of people can come in. So that's why we had an interior designer come in and make it the way that we wanted to have it more inviting for everybody.
Yeah.
Well, that was the first thing that struck me when I came in. I mean, it's not what I expected.
The openness.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I know people that they wanted tattoos, that they wouldn't go inside the shop, just because it looks scary in there.
Yeah.
I don't know, they're gonna look weird at me if I have this idea, and if it's done in a certain way, anybody won't be afraid, to just come in and say, hey, I want this type of flower that I've never heard before. And say, yeah, sure, we're gonna do it.
Yeah.
But then they won't be scared to come in. That's the whole point.
How does that feel now we're done?
I'm just so delighted we're done. I'm just amazed at how artistic it is.
Yeah.
I mean, the amount of...
It's a fairly simple process. It's not like back in the day.
No.
Was it very scary for yourself coming in today?
It was. But I mean, the moment I got to the door, I mean, the place here is not what I expected. The whole ambience isn't what I expected,
Are you thinking of your next one already?
Funnily enough, no.
No, not yet. Exception to the rule. Hi, I'm Aaron. Nice to meet you.
Aaron, thanks for having us this afternoon. I know you're relatively new here. You're only here a few months. Anyone who's looking to contact you, check out your work. How can they do that?
The best way would get through to us on Instagram. We're very active on the page. If you send in a message, we'll get back to you as soon as possible. We're also on Instagram, TikTok. You can contact us through WhatsApp. You can find all of our information with a quick Google search.
You also have a great giveaway as well in the run-up to Christmas. Over €1,000 worth of stuff, is it?
So at the moment, we're taking some nice footage. We're getting ready to unveil it. So today we're going to be announcing there'll be a giveaway. It's our Christmas giveaway. So we have something very special planned, and it'll all be for a single lucky winner. To start off, we'll have a PlayStation 5. We're going to have a Prodigy tattoo voucher worth €200. We're going to have an Extreme gym membership for 3 months. Envision Barbershop, they've thrown in 2 free haircut voucher. We have a pretty nice bottle of champagne there.
Nice.
And we've also collaborated with The Hub in town, and they've given us a very nice Christmas hamper with some bottles of wine and little nice bits to eat, and it's a really nice prize.
How do you enter that then?
So all the details will be announced. We're going to make a video today. You'll find that online. We'll have it plugged on our social medias. It'll be a simple follow our page, share the post, and comment with some friends' names in the comments. And that'll be the simple way to enter into the competition.
Well, what's the verdict after that?
Well, we made it, but it was a fantastic experience because they're wonderful people.
Amazing.
I mean, every one of them are characters, and it was just, but the accuracy of he's a real artist, Mario, isn't he? I mean, It was just really, really special. So I'm delighted.
You are.
I'm delighted. Yeah.
That's one tick on the bucket list now.
So I'm going to hang out with people with tats now, you see. It's a whole different me. This is going to be huge at social dancing, you know that, don't you?
It'll be a new trend. Well done, Fran.
Thanks, Ellie. And Ali and myself there at the Prodigy Inc. outlet there on Gladstone Street in Clonmel, and we'll have some pictures up on the Facebook page in the next couple of hours if you want to have a look at my little tattoo. Barry was on it. He sent me a picture of a guy who was covered literally from head to toe in tattoos, and he said, "This'll be Fran this time next year." Yeah, sure, Barry. Not a chance, I think. Liam was on to say, "Fran, is the rumour true that the whole way through the tattoo process you were squeezing the hell out of Ellie's hand, and at the end you got a lolly?" There you go. I wouldn't dare squeeze Ellie's hand. I can tell you. Well done, Fran, on being a tattoo virgin and not anymore. You know they're addictive. I've got lots of them myself, and that's my friend Helen who was on to us there what that is concerned. But anyway, if you want to talk to the guys at Prodigy Inc., it's 087 334 5695. That's 087 334 5695, and they're based at Gladstone Street in Clonmel. 1800 938 007. I was saying to you just a little while ago that I'm going to do Dry January, and I'll let you know how I get on where that is concerned. But it's a bit of a coincidence because I opened the Daily Mail then, and the journalist Kate Wills wrote a piece under the headline, "Why Doing Dry January Could Ruin Your Career." And she makes the point, and as a journalist she's talking here now, and she makes the point about strategic drinking. In other words, drinking to enhance your career, I suppose, and drinking to make contacts, keep contacts, all of that kind of thing, the whole hospitable end of the job. So there you go. It could destroy what's left of my career. What career, says you? News and information's on the way.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puck On. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the second hour of Tip Today. Now, we did a piece there, we played out a piece from my tattoo experience just before Christmas. Tom Carew was on, though, and he says, "Good morning, Fran. I absolutely hate tattoos, especially when they're clearly visible at first glance. In some cases, people even deface their faces, pardon the pun. Why would somebody want to do that?" Well, I don't know, Tom, but there you go. That could be me next year. Be careful. Frank was on to say, "Fran, were you tempted to give up the chocolate for January as well as the wine? Or, like me, did you think that was a step too far? Happy New Year." You see, I shouldn't be having the chocolate either, Frank, but between you and me and the wall, I'll stick with the wine for the moment anyway. All right then, it is time to talk all about money.
Financial advice with FOH Financial Limited. Tried, trusted and experienced advice. See FOH.ie. FOH Financial Limited is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
And Francis O'Hanlon is with me in studio. Good morning to you and Happy New Year to you, Francis.
Yeah, hi Fran. Happy New Year to you and to all your listeners.
Good to see you.
As well.
We want to sort of tease it out and see that people follow your advice around Christmas time in terms of, I suppose, the spend and all of that.
Yeah, and I suppose, look, the reality is, and I say this every year, 50 weeks to go to Christmas 2026. Woohoo!
Ow. Yeah.
But that's the reality of it.
Yeah.
And we say that, Christmas comes every year. It's no big surprise. So, look, you need to be thinking about Christmas next year. This, December of 26, as we stand here in January of 26, and how you're going to deal with that and how you're going to fund it. And I would say save, ideally. Of course, that doesn't always ring true. Some people can only save a certain amount, and some people might end up borrowing as well. So, look, ideally don't borrow for Christmas. Think about the interest that you're going to be charged. So if you can save a little bit more and avoid and kind of wean yourself off the borrowing need annually, that in itself is a huge feat. But look, I'm mindful of what people are earning. I'm mindful of people's net salaries. I'm mindful of the drag on people. Pension contributions now coming into play for some people.
Yeah.
But I suppose the biggest thing here is, think about the debt of Christmas past, I suppose, again. People dragging debt forward like a bag of rocks from Christmas to Christmas. And it's also, we always say this, it could be holiday to holiday. So ideally deal with, the ghost of Christmas debt past. If it's a thing, especially, you need to be mindful of how you borrowed, if you did borrow, and indeed how you borrow going forward. So I would say to people, if it is a thing that you have it on a credit card and you're not going to be clearing that credit card within, a reasonable time frame, let's ideally 30 days. Look, then you're clearing, you've no interest to face potentially, but let's be real here. I would say as long as you're getting rid of it in 3 months, if you're getting into any deeper than that, credit cards are very expensive. Okay, and they're inexpensive, normally in around the 18%. So you need to be mindful of any balances. So you need to box clever here. And if it is a thing that you have a credit card and there's a balance on it, what you could do is if you think, well, look, I could get rid of this in 6 or 9 months, maybe look at switching your credit card. Some of the providers that are out there are offering 0% interest maybe for 3 or 6 or even 9 months if you switch to them. So that would be a way, if you're disciplined enough to say, okay, I have this excess on my credit card, I want to get rid of it. I'm not going to do it within the 30 days. I'm going to switch it over to another provider, and I have the discipline to get rid of that in 3 or 6 months. Then that's possibly something you can look at. Just be careful. Look at what interest rate you're going to be charged after the switching period is over, because sometimes you can be going from frying pan to into the fire.
Yeah. So unless you really believe you can clear that within the time frame,
what's the point?
What's the point?
Yeah. What's the point of switching from a 16% provider? And you don't get rid of it in the avail of the 0% period, and then you're getting into possibly an 18.5%, because we all know there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Well, that's for sure. But just for clarity, Francis, if I owe €1,500 on my credit card and I decide I'm going to switch to try and benefit from what you've just described, I'll owe them $1,500 then. I'm not going to take any of the extra with me on top of that, am I?
You are. Say you owe €1,753 inclusive of interest. You clear out that balance completely and you switch it to the new provider. Okay, that includes the interest. So you'll have no credit card with your old provider. Your new balance will be at 0% with the new provider. 0% for the 3, 6 or 9 months. After that, you're back to whatever balance, whatever interest rate they charge. So say you avail of the switch and say your 1,753 balance, say you have the means to get rid of that in the 6 months, that means you paid no interest on that €1,753 because you availed of that introductory 0%.
Okay.
But if you ended up saying, look, and you ended up owing still about €1,400 of the 1,753, and then after the 3, 6 or 12 or 9 months period has expired, all of a sudden you're into 18.5%. You need to be mindful. I think if it's a thing that some people are better off with a term loan where they have a fixed repayment, and that might be even for their Christmas to Christmas situation, but make sure you get rid of it in 11 months. And I would say the same if you're dragging a credit card balance, it might be that you're better off without a credit card. Okay, so it might be better. You might be better off. Credit cards don't suit everybody.
Yeah, I know.
They just can't manage them. So sometimes you're better off.
It's very hard to survive in this world without.
Yeah, I suppose again with online payments, it depends what you want, and again, it's the discipline of knowing and acknowledging where you're at. That's why I like people to look back sometimes and be honest with yourself. Be honest with what you spent at Christmas. Be honest with what you owe. Be honest with the interest that you're paying, and be honest with your ability to clear it. Because sometimes people say, "Oh, I'm going to give this up. I'm going to give that up. I'm going to clear this in whatever." And the reality is that they don't. So just try and be honest with yourself and be real about what you can do.
Of course,
but I think it's important to look back. Again, there's ways of borrowing. We mentioned the buy now, pay later. Some of those are fantastic if you have the discipline of getting rid of them in the 3 installments. But if you don't, then you're facing into potentially very high interest after that period of time. And please be mindful of your credit rating. How many times have we said it?
It's so important, isn't it?
Sometimes people think because it's small, it doesn't matter. Money matters. Your credit rating matters. And I would advise everyone to just once a year.
I was looking at a program the other night about a guy trying to get his relationship broke up, and eventually then he had plenty of savings. He was trying to get a mortgage. He should have had no problem getting the mortgage, except that his credit rating was damaged over a €12 incident that he didn't know anything about.
Yeah, it seems harsh, but you see, unfortunately, when you're looking at a situation and you're looking at the bank or a lender is looking at your credit rating and they see that it's impaired or damaged,
yes,
sometimes they don't always get into why, okay? But possibly when it was pointed out to this individual and they said, sorry, I didn't realise that and I never closed off the car. Sometimes the banks can be reasonable.
Yeah,
where you
and that's
can
what
make
emerged
a case
from the conversation.
Yeah.
But it was only he found out about it, that this was an impediment to him getting... He fixed them up, the €12 gone, but then 5 years started.
Yeah.
The period of time in which...
Absolutely. I only saw a case lately, somebody that was looking at buying their first house, engaged, love long, young dream, wanted to, they're saving hard together. And I just said to him, do me a favour, will you just do a credit check? And when I saw his credit check, he had a car loan of old that he still hadn't sorted. He thought he had it sorted, but there was a residual balance. It was kind of hangover interest, and it's not gone. So I said, you need to clear that, and it's 5 years from that ticking point, from that point. Like, that's a difficult conversation to be having with a partner, to say, listen, that house we were talking about could be a little delayed.
Yeah.
Now, look, seek advice again in relation to that. Again, that's why you're better off going to, I suppose, an impartial advisor that has access to the varies, that knows what they're doing. They can look at it and try and help you manoeuvre around those situations.
Because the advisor that this guy I was telling you about was speaking to said that, some banks might look upon it a little more benignly in some ways.
Exactly.
So there you go. Tax then? What about tax back?
Oh, look, I was only reading an article, 600 million or something left unclaimed, or some mad figure. So there's thousands of people that either are paying too much tax or that they've lots of tax to claim back. So again, we say every year to people, please be mindful. This is it. This is some people call it the miserable week of, but think of it in another way. Think of it, oh my God, I'm going to get that box of receipts that I've been saving all year and that I've been setting aside, and I'm now going to go and I'm going to claim back that tax that I'm entitled to on those medical receipts and prescriptions and prescribed physio.
Are self-employed people better at this than PAYE? Because we believe that we have nothing to get back.
Yeah, possibly. Look, it's a mindset for some self-employed people, and I might add, but because they're the ones getting in the door at the end of October usually to accountants. But look, obviously they're more aligned. So, their accountant or tax advisor is probably saying, listen, you need to do this, this and this.
Yeah.
But PAYE people need to do this, this and this. This is money that you can claim back, that you could possibly reduce that credit card balance, or you can go towards the Christmas of 26, or it can go towards your holiday
Yeah,
or you might even
paying
decide
off your credit card.
There you go. Absolutely. So it's just amazing the amount of people, like even the college people that, you know, have children in college and they're paying rent and they're entitled to claim back for that. So there's so many things left there that people don't claim for. This is substantial money. This is your money. This is your money as a taxpayer, potentially.
And if you take medical expenses, for example, Francis, and if you've already claimed from your medical insurer, your VHI or whatever, you can also claim, can't you? Yeah.
So it's the residual balance. So say you submit your claim to your health provider and they've said, listen, you had €1,000 in receipts, we're awarding you 400. Therefore, there's a residual balance of 600. So as long as they're legitimate receipts, you can then go to revenue and say, listen, we've been to healthcare provider. They dropped a name there. Healthcare provider. Yes. We've been given back €400. There's a residual balance of €600. Can we claim the tax on the difference? And you'll get a tax break at 20% on the residual balance. So again, money people leave behind. I don't know how many times I've said that to people and they're going, really? Yeah, really, you can claim your money back.
Budgeting. Let's talk about budgeting.
Okay, so again,
none of us like to talk about it. But,
no, but it might sound old-fashioned, but it's not. It's the core of everything. You have to budget. It doesn't matter, be it an individual, be it a business. You need to budget, and. Again, it's very hard in this kind of tap culture. Now it's not even, you don't even have to go to the bother of having the card. It's on your phone. Yeah. So it's hard to sometimes keep track. So, what I would say is it's a great time for people to say, what are you spending? Look at what you're spending. Look at how you're spending. And, do you need it? We're all kind of getting to the point now, even, groceries at Christmas saying, do we need this? Are we going to end up chucking this out? Into the bin in between Christmas and New Year's. That goes for everything. What are you spending? How are you spending? Do you need? Could you change it? Could you save yourself some money in that way? So we're going to get on to cash stuffing.
Now, we've attempted to do this for the last 6 months, I think, in some sort of a way. Would you tell us about cash stuffing and what it is? It's a very old-fashioned sort of way.
Yeah, we've always spoken about pockets.
Yes.
Some people might have jars in the press, biscuit tins, whatever it is. This is all the rage on TikTok or whatever, of people where they physically take out cash. Now, I'm not jumping around about this, but let's go with the flow because we've threatened to speak about it so long. So basically people say, okay, I have envelopes set aside, groceries, rent, mortgage, socialising, clothes, and they take out money and they apply a portion of their money, their cash, into each of the envelopes. They only spend what's in the envelope, and that's it. So if it is the thing that they see a pair of boots in the sale and they have €100 in their clothing envelope, but the boots are 105, sorry, you don't get the boots, right?
Oh, that's so unfair.
So, this is the idea of it, that you're putting money aside. Now, look, I get that. Sometimes that might work well for people, especially if they're trying to be very, very strict about what they're doing and how they're managing their money. Other people are listening saying, well, I do this already. So it's just, one of those things that's all the rage at the moment. It is all the rage. I'm not jumping around about people having wads of cash because, let's talk about any reasonable budget in a household. They're going to have a lot of cash potentially hanging around a house, which I'm not jumping around about. You have to be very disciplined and say, right, well, I'm not, what if you do, sometimes stuff happens and you need more. The idea is that you're not supposed to touch the other envelopes. There are facilities, certain banks or whatever allow you to have wallets, without naming them, where you can set aside money for these various things. Or indeed, go back to what we always say, do up your budget plan, set up your bills account and maybe deal with it that way. But hey, look, we've mentioned the cash stuffing, Fran.
We finally got around to it. Indeed. But to do up the budget plan then.
Yeah, up your budget plan. Sit down. It's the time of year to do it. Sit down, have a look at what your spend is, your bills, your utilities, and maybe have a look and see where you could save money. I would say, there's great resources out there, but have a look, in particular health insurance. I've heard that a lot in the last while, that it has gone up substantially, and I think an awful lot of people are due big bills, increases in their bills in January in particular. There are providers out there. There's one in particular, it's where they literally will look at the healthcare plan that you've got and see, can you do better? Yeah. Now, from what I understand, you can actually go to your healthcare provider. They're obliged to go through the various plans that they have and to see, can you do better? But if it's a thing that you want an impartial eye on it, you can go to...
It's Dermot Good's
exactly, yeah. And you know what? You have to pay a fee.
Yeah.
It could be the best fee you ever pay, because an awful lot of people have the wrong plan and they're overpaying. So you could get far greater value, because I think majority of people agree you need to have health insurance.
Of course, but most people are afraid to change, particularly if they have underlying conditions.
Yeah, absolutely.
But there's no need for that
no,
fear,
there's not. And again, I'm not an expert in health insurance,
sure,
but I would say definitely worth looking at. And that, in my opinion, is a very big ticket item. Obviously there's the mortgages and looking at the rate that you're on, and can you pull back the term. So, I suppose if we're looking at the core fundamental here, it's about the budget. It's about knowing that you have a certain amount of money coming in, knowing that you have a certain amount of money that you have to pay out, that you know of. There's always going to be glitches, but it's to put a process in place that you can deal with the bills as they come, right?
Yes.
That well, I have X amount in bills, I'm setting aside Y on a weekly or a monthly basis, and I'll be able to deal with those bills then as they come. You'll have to vary it over time, and again, feeding back into Christmas and Christmas past and Christmas on the way, and whatever it be, whatever bills that come up. If you have the right budget plan in place, it should look after all of those things. You should never have to worry about Christmas, because you'll have the money set aside that you can pay for Christmas out of that money.
You have a great piece of advice in your notes, which is, can you account for what's coming out of your account? Now, I discovered this recently because I pay for access to a lot of publications online. The amount of money it adds up to per month is scary.
Yeah, absolutely. And, certain, shall we say, providers for channels or whatever it be, people are there's substantial money coming out, and people really need to look at, do we need all of that? Is there a better deal out there? So, for every people say, sure, it's only a tenner. For every tenner that you save, right, that could be redirected. And if, for example, you looked across all of the various, and all of a sudden you're saving yourself €50 a month by just tweaking what you've got, and you're putting that money aside, that's a substantial amount towards your Christmas for 26.
Before I let you go, Francis, if somebody finds themselves in difficulty, just what should they do?
And that happens. And it happens, and there's no shame in it. And sometimes people hit bumps in the road and they're in difficulty and they need help. So what I would say is, again, face it. I know that's hard sometimes for people that are in debt. Face it, don't ignore it. And there's help out there, like MABS is a great facility. There's the insolvency service if you feel you need a little more help, but I think MABS is your first call. Of course, there's the likes of me, who's a financial advisor, but you need a financial advisor that's specifically qualified in the area of debt management. But I would say MABS is a great place to go. Again, it's about budgeting. They'll help you maybe with budgeting if they need to intervene with certain bills to get you some kind of plan in place. That's what you need to do. But please don't ignore it, because it'll just get worse. And you're better off. The sooner, sometimes it's the fear of it is worse. And I've seen that with people. I've seen the anxiety that people feel over debt, and I've seen it just dissolve when they know that there's, all right, hold on. Sure, look, this is what we do.
There's light at the end of the tunnel.
Because I think sometimes people get so bogged down and their head gets so clouded from it, and that's the only way I can describe it.
If people want to talk to you or the team, Francis?
No problem. They can ring the office 052 612 9487 or visit our website www.foh.ie.
All right, great to see you as always,
Thank you,
Francis.
Fran.
Thanks very much indeed. Francis O'Hanlon there of FOH Finance in Clonmel. We'll take a break. We're back with Global News.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, puck on. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip-off charity check presentation is taking place in Roscrea this evening at 6 o'clock following the recent tip-off charity busking event. The presentation will take place at Ryan's Shop and Bar. That's the Auburn Lodge there, isn't it? With cheques being presented to the Aisling Murphy Memorial Fund, Dylan Quirk Foundation, Offaly Hospice Foundation and North Tipperary Hospice as well. Our own Eamon O'Dwyer from down your way will be in attendance and will record the event there, so it sounds like a great evening indeed. Now it's time to have a look at what's been happening globally. As always, I'm joined by Thomas Conway. Good morning to you, Thomas.
Good morning, Fran.
And we have to talk about Venezuela. I was saying to you off air, did you see this coming?
To be honest, I didn't. Now, Trump is so volatile and he's so unpredictable that he's notoriously difficult to anticipate. He did telegraph this to an extent. He kind of foreshadowed it in the national security strategy, which the White House published a couple of weeks ago. That called for US domination of the Western Hemisphere. And that is exactly what this is. This is an expression of that. It is the US and Donald Trump imposing its will on the Americas, essentially, and toppling or stealing, snatching a dictator whom they really despise in the United States, Nicolas Maduro, a left-wing dictator, the successor to Hugo Chavez, came to power in 2013 and essentially frittered away much of the country's oil wealth. Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on the globe, and you can be sure that was another component of why Trump decided to intervene on Friday evening. It was the mass amounts of oil that Venezuela has, and the prospect of using that oil to, I suppose, as he said, enrich America and enrich Venezuela as well.
It's interesting, and you're putting it under a headline of the Donroe doctrine, which is sort of a take on the Monroe doctrine, the original one. Would you just explain that to us?
Indeed, yeah. The fifth president of the United States, James Monroe, set out a doctrine in which he called for what I said earlier, US domination of the Western Hemisphere, of the Americas, that the US would be this unrivaled power within its regional sphere of influence. Now, Trump has sought to revive that doctrine and he's dubbed it the Donroe doctrine. And that is exactly really what this is.
It's to prevent meddling in places of interest to America.
Yeah, because you would have foreign powers who are entangled in the politics of Latin America, most notably China and Russia, which purchase oil from the likes of Venezuela and Cuba, and these left-wing regimes, the ones we see. Venezuela is a socialist country and has been since Chavez took power around 1998. Cuba is another one. People will be aware of that. And there are others across Latin America. And that obviously is at odds with the American model of capitalism that Mr. Trump so wants to promote.
And not to go off on a tangent, but can I pick you up on that for a moment? This idea of Maduro being left-wing. And still, some of his ideas are extremely conservative. I mean, where abortion is concerned, where gay rights are concerned.
Yeah, so he's economically left-wing. I mean, Maduro is a very wealthy man. It is worth saying. He has huge health himself, and his wife, Celia Flores, who was captured along with them. So socially, I wouldn't say they're liberal. I think it's a predominantly Catholic country, much like the rest of Latin and South America. But economically speaking, from that perspective, for instance, the state oil company would have been nationalised. He would have the Chavez regime. If you go back to the Chavez days, he would have nationalised a lot of the state infrastructure with good results initially. Lifted people out of poverty, but it eventually started to go wrong. It was an unsustainable model essentially, and that led to a mass exodus of people in recent years. Effectively, a humanitarian crisis in 2018, and there was a push to oust Maduro then. It didn't happen. There was another election last year in 2024. Maduro is said to have stolen that. It's said to have been a sham election. And so now, the big question is what happens now. And the American plan, Mr. Trump said in his press conference, and Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State, backed him up on Sunday, is that America will essentially run Venezuela through the vice president who will become the president, Delcy Rodriguez. She was the second in the command to Nicolas Maduro. And she has no choice but to accept America's will now and to do what...
Yes, or else.
Or else, indeed. And Trump has threatened, huge consequences, more severe consequences, should she not comply.
Why does he not look to Machado?
Yeah, he says quite straight. Maria Corina Machado is the Nobel Peace Prize.
Who
officially won the 2024 election.
She gave him the prize, didn't she?
She effectively gave him the prize. She lavished praise on him, and she has done her best to ingratiate herself to him. But it's unclear. There was surprise in many kind of... amongst the Venezuelan diaspora on Saturday when Mr. Trump said that she wouldn't have enough sufficient support within the country. That was a very curious thing to say, because you would imagine she is the natural successor to Maduro here. She's right-wing, conservative-leaning, a capitalist, and she would walk into that role.
So why? Because he went so far as to say that she wouldn't have the respect of the people, which I found very strange.
Does she think? I mean, maybe it will take time. I'm in the woods here as well. I'm not exactly sure. It was very curious from Mr. Trump's perspective, because I thought, and I had said it previously on this programme, that they were lining up Miss Machado to take power. Now, if there is a democratic election and she stands, it will be very interesting to see what percentage of the vote she garners if she were to win that election.
Has he indicated when there might be an election, or will there be an election?
Well, he said the US will run the country until such a time as a fair and judicious transition of power can take place, or an election can take place. So however long that is, we don't know. But you would imagine it would happen. It would have to happen swiftly, because I mean, you would feel for the Venezuelan people here. A lot of them are rejoicing. It should be said. They're delighted. Most of them are rejoicing, but they deserve to elect their leader democratically. And at the end of the day, this woman, Delcy Rodriguez, although she is now under the command of the United States, she is a senior Chavista. She is she was an acolyte of Nicolas Maduro, and
so
therefore
her ideology is obviously
very much left wing. Okay. Yes, indeed.
It's going to be very interesting to see. Now, what about Colombia and? And I mean, Cuba?
That is an open question. And Mr. Trump has said, he has threatened, he hasn't ruled out doing something similar to countries such as that. Colombia's leader, Gustavo Petro, he does not like one bit. Now, Petro is a left-wing leader, but crucially, and I think the crucial difference is, he was democratically elected by the Colombian people, unlike Maduro, who was said to have stolen the election, who did steal the election and seize power autocratically. Cuba is another open question, and I suspect that will be particularly of significance to Marco Rubio, the Secretary of State. He is of Cuban heritage.
Yes.
And this, what happened to Venezuela over the past few days, was of particular significance to him. This was part of his raison d'etre in kind of entering politics to free countries like his homeland, like Cuba, like Venezuela, from the dictatorships that they are under. So there is a huge question. I would note as well, Trump also said something about Greenland last night, and there was a response from the Greenland Prime Minister and the Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen, who I suppose admonished Mr. Trump. So, there is no limit to what he could do here. He has defied all predictions, but he does set out, as I said at the outset, in that national security strategy, he wants to dominate the Western Hemisphere, and he will stop at nothing to do that.
What about Russia and China then? Because I presume they have interests in Venezuela. I mean, what are they saying?
It's Russia obviously is occupied with its war in Ukraine, but it will be sceptical of what the US has done here, but I suspect it won't go too hard on Mr. Trump, given that it needs to kind of keep the US on side, maintain relations with them in order to secure a favourable deal from them in relation to Ukraine. China, a very interesting one. I note our man Muriel is out visiting China at the moment. I'm not sure. I doubt it came up in conversation between him and Xi Jinping. But Xi Jinping is meeting the South Korean leader today, Lee Jae-myung. So he has an agenda. But certainly this will be an uncomfortable one for him. What I think is happening here, Fran, is increasingly the world is splintering into these different spheres of influence, whereby the US is taking control, once again, I suppose, of the Americas, South America, Latin America. China has its patch extending from the Chinese mainland down to, I suppose, Taiwan and East Asia. And Russia is increasingly, it's obviously encroaching on Ukraine, and it has that pet patch of Central Asia. So there are three playing fields here across the world: America's, Russia's and China. And there's another question there for the European Union. Europe kind of issued this mealy-mouthed statement, not condemning what Trump had done, not issuing support for it. Some of the leaders, Giorgia Meloni, sort of welcomed it in a roundabout way. But Europe, yet again, has kind of been sidelined.
Did he break international law?
Of course he did, yeah. I think that is more or less certain. He probably... Democrats will argue that he broke American law. There's such a thing as the War Powers Act, which Democrats say he contravened in doing this operation.
But is that not about a president making a decision to go to war? And I suppose he wouldn't view this.
Yeah, he does not define this as war. The other thing to mention is the operation was actually, from a military perspective, it was
amazing.
It was a stunning success. It was amazing.
Do you want to tell us a bit about that? Because the amount of work that went into this, and it was so surgical, wasn't it?
Just staggering. I mean, spies, drones, blowtorches, you had a whole arsenal of weapons used. So at about 46 minutes past 10 on Friday night, Mr. Trump gave the order, and it was called Operation Absolute Resolve. Now, it had been rehearsed time upon time by the American forces and an elite unit, the most senior elite unit of the American military, called the Delta Force. They even constructed a model house replicating Nicolas Maduro's house in Caracas in order to perform kind of simulation exercises. So they really put everything into this. There were planes, over 150 aircraft, paraded the skies above Caracas. It's said that the Americans actually cut power in the Venezuelan capital, Caracas, on Friday night. Now, that's open to question, but that's what they said they did. And then they effectively exfiltrated or swiped Nicolas Maduro and his wife, Celia Flores. They attempted to escape to a safe room. They didn't get there. They were taken by helicopter to a US aircraft carrier, the Iwo Jima, and from there they were transported to New York. Maduro will stand trial in New York later today on drug charges, which carry a sentence.
And tell us about the charges, because it's specifically on drug charges, isn't it?
Now, I think that's a bit of a pretense, as we discussed. But the drug charges carry a minimum sentence of 20 years. It can extend to a lifetime in prison. So, I was talking kind of over the course of the weekend, some people speculating, well, did Maduro do some sort of a plea deal with Trump here to get himself out safely? I don't think he did, because he's facing incarceration here. I'm not sure what's going to happen to his wife, maybe something similar, but he will stand trial in New York at 5 p.m. today. So, I mean, we'll start to get reports. Reports will circulate throughout the day today.
His wife, that's a remarkable story as well, because she wasn't just the first lady, on his arm, so to speak, because she was instrumental in his career, wasn't she?
Yeah, she was behind him, the person behind him, really. He, despite being despised in many quarters in Venezuela, you could see he was a archetypal left-wing populist, kind of played to the crowd. We saw images of him dancing, kind of tried to come across as this happy-go-lucky kind of a guy, but it hasn't worked out for him. I mean, he was a ruthless autocrat at the end of the day, and a lot of countries across Latin America and across the world will quietly, in Europe even, will quietly be welcoming this, because Maduro the way I see it, the only way he was going to go was if something like this happened. He had stolen an election. Still, at the same time, for America to go in and intervene in a foreign conflict or in a foreign country, it's at odds with President Trump's America First agenda, really.
It is, but there's a lot of precedent for
there is. There is Manuel Noriega.
Either covert or very obvious.
Yeah, absolutely. And in Latin American terms, it happened 36 years to the day after the capture of the Panamanian leader, Manuel Noriega. So you're absolutely right in saying, and then there's obviously the Middle East and that. But your question regarding Colombia and Cuba and that's a really interesting one. I mean, Trump is emboldened now. This operation has been a complete success. Could he do the same to somewhere like Cuba, maybe? Perhaps. I mean, it's an open question.
All right, let us take a break. We'll be back with more from Thomas in a moment.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puckon. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Join the conversation in Tipperary. Contact us through Facebook, Twitter, or email tiptoday@tipfm.com.
Well, welcome back to our global news, and Thomas is still with me. Conflicts to watch over the next 12 months. What should we be cautious about, and what should we be looking
Well,
at, do you think, Thomas?
There are obvious ones and there are not so obvious ones, but start with the ones that really, really stick out. And obviously Russia, Ukraine. Yeah. I mean, in many ways your guess is as good as mine here. It's a war of attrition at the moment. I suspect in 2026 we'll see some sort of deal. It will be a flag.
Zelensky says now it's 90% there.
And I would imagine that will come in the form of a kind of a frozen conflict, frozen along the current front lines, probably with Russia taking the Donbass region. I can't see another outcome other than that. I think there may be room for some creative ambiguity there.
It'll require that because Zelensky has been so adamant.
Indeed, he has. And I can see why. I mean, he says it would take a referendum, a constitutional referendum in order to facilitate that. And it is blatantly unfair. I mean, Russia invaded and plunged the country into war. But the way Trump is leaning at the moment, now he's been otherwise occupied over the past few days, but the way he's leaning at the moment, you would suspect that it looks like he's desperate for a deal. And I think there's war fatigue, huge war fatigue in Ukraine at the moment. The Russians are making progress, but it's glacial progress. They've made, I have the statistics here, they've seized just 1.3% of additional territory in the past 3 to 4 years. That's since the initial incursion.
Just really quickly before we move on, therefore, how can Russia be really perceived as being a threat to Europe if they are glacial in terms of what's happening in Ukraine?
Yeah, that's a legitimate question. I suppose the activity that is happening, like there was I think a Russian ship in Irish waters over the course of the past 24 hours. There have been drone incursions in countries like Estonia. Fighter jets have flown above Poland. All sorts of provocative actions, and I mean the fear is that Russia would, in a couple of years' time, continue its invasion if Ukraine is not awarded significant and credible and durable security guarantees. But I see your point. The thing is, Russia can keep throwing troops and keep throwing men at this.
And they have a nuclear option.
And they have the nuclear option, which Ukraine doesn't. And that goes back to the 1990s, the Minsk Accords. And that, in hindsight, was a huge mistake. Ukraine gave away their nuclear weapons, and that was their major point of defence.
All right. Israel, Hamas.
Yeah, I mean, the fragile truce, will that hold? I'm hopeful that it will. I'm hopeful that Donald Trump covets the Nobel Peace Prize so much that he manages to continue to exert influence over Benjamin Netanyahu. Netanyahu was in the White House last Monday and awarded Trump some special Israeli accolade, trying to ingratiate himself to Trump yet again. And the relationship between the two is very good. But still, Trump has leaned on Netanyahu, and he will have to continue to lean on him to make sure that this doesn't explode yet again. But people I mean, there are Palestinians being killed. There's an upsurge in anti-Semitism worldwide. This conflict has had shocking implications across the world, both for the people of Gaza and it has really resonated with people in this country.
China and Taiwan, I suppose.
Yeah, and I mentioned Muriel Martin is in China at the moment. Xi Jinping set to meet the South Korean leader today. That will be very interesting because they are likely to discuss Taiwan. And the big question is, will Xi Jinping make a bid for legacy, essentially, in 2026? Will they go and try to seize Taiwan? I don't think so. They have said the Chinese Armed Forces, the People's Liberation Army, will be ready to invade by 2027, but that doesn't mean they will invade. I think, in my view, Xi Jinping will hold out until the end of President Trump's term. I think he would be foolish to try anything during the next couple of years, but certainly there is a threat there, and Mr. Trump's backing for the island is questionable.
Two nuclear areas then, India and Pakistan. I mean, I'm particularly concerned about this.
Yeah, well, you should be, and people should be. I mean, 20% of the world's population between them, 350 nuclear warheads between them. Those statistics are hugely frightening. And of course, they were recently brought back from the brink. There was an armed skirmish in April 2025. India killed about 26 tourists, and that triggered probably the most serious crisis in years. But America has been mediating between the two, and America will have to, again, lean on both. As ever, I'm just thinking about it. We're dependent on Mr. Trump here to lean on both sides. And the way I see it, just give him the Nobel Peace Prize if he wants it, if it means containing these conflicts across the globe. Because there are furnaces of conflict out there, and that is a particularly hot one. The one he hasn't really touched at all is Sudan. And that's an internal war between the Sudanese armed forces, the army, and the Rapid Support Forces. A devastating civil war, and the world's most underreported and worst humanitarian crisis out there at the moment. That's likely to spiral on, I would think.
Congo and Rwanda?
Congo and Rwanda, yeah. The Congo's mineral wealth here is a key point in this one. Essentially, Rwanda is trying to eat into Congo's eastern flank and seize an area around the capital of Goma. It will probably continue to do so unless Mr. Trump intervenes. There are gold, there are minerals, there are oil at play here as well. So they are all the motivations.
Right, and just before we go, for fear we might think that North Korea are sort of chilling out in some sort of fashion, they want to be seen.
No, they've seized, I think, the opportunity here to fire another ballistic missile in its eastern waters. This is according to South Korea's army. Test launch comes just a day, but yeah, it became a few days before Lee Jae-myung meets Xi Jinping, and the pair will undoubtedly discuss that. I mean, North Korea is kind of an ally of China in some ways. But, this is, make no doubt about it, this is Kim Jong-un kind of seizing the opportunity. Other things are happening, so he said he'd fire a nuclear missile and see what happens.
To get himself back in the headlines again. Thomas, a pleasure as always. Thanks for being with you. Happy New Year to you, by the way, Thomas, as well. Thank you. Thomas Conway there of the Nina Guardian. News and information is coming up.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tipp FM's Tipp Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. Over half a century driving the people of Tipperary and surrounding areas with quality, reliable and economical vehicles, new and used. Call the sales team today to discuss your next car or van on 067 24 111.
Thanks, Pat, and welcome back to the final hour of Tipp Today, 1800 938 007. And now, listen around to us, a very Worrying event indeed. My friend was driving down Silver Street in Nina with his girlfriend when a male approached the car and a pedestrian crossing, asking for a lift outside of the town, but my pal refused as he was fairly locked and totally lost it. Tried to pull the wipers off, bang on the bonnet. When my friend beeped the horn, it made him worse. He then went to the passenger door, tried to drag the girlfriend out of the car. A friend got out and pushed him, but the guy punched him. And my friend called the guards. They didn't arrive at the time. How are we supposed to feel safe if they are doing their job properly, says one of our listeners to us. And that sounds like a very concerning incident indeed, and we will follow it up, and thank you for that. 083 311 3311. Now it is time for our health slot, and glad to be joined as usual by Muriel. Good morning to you, Muriel.
Morning, Fran.
And good to see you today. You're not into resolutions. You've been telling me this for years,
yes.
But still, we asked you to talk about people who are making resolutions.
I don't like the word resolution, so you can put whatever spin you want on it, but I don't use the word resolution because I feel it's nothing to be resolved, if that makes sense. I think you have to go with intentions and goals if you want this world to work out properly for you. Like, we know quick fix diets don't work. We know even most New Year's resolutions last within a day, a week, you know. Yeah. And isn't it funny? Most people, and one of my goals for this year is to wear my glasses, actually.
Oh, very good.
Can't see without them anymore.
We'll put photographs up on social media.
Muriel in her glasses. Anyway, yeah, most people don't change their body or don't change their health because they're scared of losing what they have. Does that make sense? And when I'm talking about losing what they have, it means their routines or their habits, and I suppose the excuses, because being the same,
the comforts,
being the same is easier to come back to. Like you said, you're going to do dry January. Like, it's not easy to do dry January, which means you have to change habits.
Absolutely.
So your habits in the evening time are going to have to change. Yeah. To quit is easier, Fran. Do you know what I mean? So for you to say this evening, well, no, I'm actually going to have a glass of wine because it's Monday. So, like, you, what would you say? Eat whatever you want, do the bare minimum, skip the exercise again because that quitting piece is easier. Raising our standards takes work. And you know, one of the things, I listened to a podcast the other day, and it was Jerry Hussey, and it kind of frightened me in a way because I was working up my own numbers. He said we have 900 months to live as an average human being.
Right.
300 of those months we sleep. So that gives us 600 months of being alive and well.
That's very stark.
Isn't that very scary?
Wow.
In my age, working it out, that means I have 630 months of my life gone. Right? Yeah. Which means I have about 300 months of my left by his calculations. And he said, like, if you have 300 months left or 400 months left, you use the word waiting. So I'm going to wait until Monday to start my diet. I'm going to wait until Saturday to start exercising. I'm going to wait to take on that project or change my job, like you were talking about this morning, whatever. He said in his world, waiting equates to quitting. So while you're waiting, you're still quitting. And while you're still quitting, you're not raising your standards, which means you're not going to get yourself out of whatever predicament or hole you're in, be it health, be it whatever.
That's tough love.
It's tough love. But you know what? I was thinking about this a lot today, and I was like, the best case scenario is if you change, everything in your world changes. Can I read just a piece to you that was sent to me before Christmas, right? So this is a 49-year-old, and she sent this to me, and she said, the best gift I've ever given my 49-year-old self was my 49-year-old self. She said, when I started this year, this was this time last year, right? I was perimenopausal, pre-diabetic, depressed, scared, arthritis in both knees, exhausted, stuck in a cycle of lack of sleep and motivation. And she said, I was so scared as I'd failed so many times and thought it was too late for me. And then she just, there's a piece in between of you know, her journey or whatever. She said, there's no greater gift you can give yourself. Health transformation changed not only my body, my mind, my outlook and my goals for the future. She sent me another message and a picture on Christmas Day. She was in Tenerife and she was in a swimsuit. She said, I have never worn a swimsuit in my life.
Wow.
Now, she's 20 kg lighter, so the 20 kg is obviously massive, but it was the health journey that got her to the 20 kg lighter. I don't do diets, I do health. So for me, if you can actually get your health back on track, your weight comes with it. They have to go together. A diet on its own is nonsense. The quick fix diets means that you'll end up eating maybe processed foods because you're trying to get the perfect amount of calories or maybe overdoing protein or whatever it is. Diets in general, calorie counting in general, you're literally putting your body and your mind under pressure the minute you even think about it or talk about it. So you have to change your whole focus. And I started on Saturday on my social media accounts saying, today is day one. What do we do today So we take it easy. We go easier on ourselves, but we do two things to change. So if you create a discipline to create new habits, those habits will eventually become the norm. Myself and Ali talked about outside the door a minute ago. She was swimming this morning. I was in the gym this morning. Did either of us want to do it? We spoke about how cold it was. Her pool was freezing and my gym was freezing. Did I want to be there? Absolutely not in a million years. I was shivering and holding on to my water bottle because it was warm, but I was there because the habit is established. The discipline is there because I know it makes me feel better. Does that make sense?
It does.
So you have to create a new discipline. So Saturday I said, start drinking your 2 litres of water today and start eating a good breakfast. They're the only two things I want from you for today. Day 2 was, okay, it's 3 meals today, but it's 3 good meals today. So see, can you actually change one thing in each meal that makes that meal more healthy? So if it's white bread you've had over Christmas, maybe add in the brown bread. If you're having like chips or something, maybe make your own chips, or maybe have like potatoes or something instead. Change one habit and keep that habit going forward. Don't change a million things. You know, so if we do it softly, it's easier to do it.
Is that the big mistake that we all make, that we go fully into
totally.
this and we give up everything? And
you give up everything, and the minute you restrict, like the man that said to you this morning, don't give up the chocolate but give up the wine.
It's Frank. Yeah.
But he's definitely right. Yeah. As in, if you step into it, you have a chance. Concentrate on the wine and get the water into you. Do you know what I mean? And then the next step is, if you start eating more well, you'll wake up brighter. It'll take a week or 10 days, but you will wake up feeling more well in the morning. If you have a good breakfast, that's the next step. If you have 3 good meals, that's the next step. Then you're going to start sleeping a bit better. So the minute you sleep a bit better, that's going to feed into the exercise. Your energy levels come back. So like, you'll get one bright evening, you'll be like, I think I'd really like to go for a walk. So like, it doesn't have to be a run, or it doesn't have to be a gym membership. You can do it very easily yourself by just changing the habits. So it's step into it easily, Fran.
Right. So when you say you're against resolutions, it's that big decision you're against, because that doesn't last.
It doesn't last, no. We have to change the mindset, because the brain and the frontal lobe part of our brain is the piece all the time that you're talking to all the time. So if you have all these resolutions of I have to do, your brain is kind of going against you. It's even like, I have to lose weight. So anybody knows this, that it's ever been on a weight loss journey. If you have this thing in your head of I have to lose weight, and you lose 2 stone weight, next thing is you've 2.5 stone back on. Because you've restricted so much, your brain is like under pressure, and it doesn't feel safe, and it feels your body isn't getting enough food in, it's not getting enough macronutrients to be well or whatever. So all the time it's pushing you back towards the press to say, you actually need food, I need more, you're restricting here, you're not feeding me enough. So every cell in the body is crying out for a little bit more. Whereas if you feed the body properly, the 3 good meals a day plus the snacks, the brain is actually going after breakfast, I actually feel good now, this is safe. Maybe this is a good thing. 11 o'clock, nuts, berries, whatever it is, or soup or something. Okay, now he's fed me again. This is really good. I feel good.
So it's a gradual take on and everything. When you read out the few lines from the lady, 49, was that her
49,
age? 49. What I could read between those lines was that mentally she's in a very good place now as well.
The mental side is just massive for people.
Yeah.
Another man, and he's probably listening this morning, he's 76. He's battled cancer and he has COPD. His message on Christmas Eve to me was, this is the best I felt in 8 years. You know, the best Christmas I felt coming into in 8 years. Now, there's still health issues or whatever there, but he feels so well. He messaged one morning to say he was walking up, sleeving him on at 5:30 or 6 o'clock, and I was like, you mad Aegis, Jesus, get those runners off and come back down and be safe. But can you imagine at 76... being able to take that many years back, that you feel well, the best you've done in 8 years? I just think that's amazing.
Even though he has all
the underlying issues. He lost probably about 2 stone, but his goal wasn't, when he came to me, to lose the weight. His goal was to be more well. Because of the COPD, his breathing was wrong. He'd been to so many different, I suppose, so many different places to try and get himself back to the best he could be, and it just wasn't happening. And it did, as in, he's fitter. He actually said to me one of the days, do you know where I was yesterday? And I said, no, what were you doing? And he said, he was up a ladder. He said, in my previous life, he said, I was a fireman. He was up the ladder with the hoover strapped to my back, hoovering out the leaves out of the shoots or whatever. He said, I couldn't have done that 3 months ago or 4 months ago. Now, the weight definitely does help all of this, but the health piece is the biggest piece, Fran. And if you're thinking of doing anything as you start this year, if you haven't had a health check, go and get a health check done. Go and book in and get your bloods done. See exactly where you're at with that. There was another death, it was all over social media, like the strong man. He was the strong...
Yes, yeah.
You saw that.
Paul Murphy.
That's right, yeah. Well, like, you have to have a health check done. You have to have the cardiac side done. Like the cardiac world is coming back now into our, like teenage years or whatever, and they're picking up different things all the time. That's your starting place, right? The second thing then is, so say something simple like, how many people have like jars full of supplements at home that they buy and they take like 2 or 3 of them? Are they there? Take them out. Maybe you need them. Do you know what they're for? Do you know what I mean? Start using what's around you before you go into the whole bigger picture. And even have a piece on supplements. Can I talk about this literally? All right. So now, this just for people to be aware, I'm going to run through things like that you could be deficient in. These are signs or symptoms within the body. But it doesn't have to be deficiency in something. It could be something else as well, more underlying or more health related, right? So the first one is cold hands, deficiency in iron, right? No appetite, zinc. Dry eyes, vitamin E. Shortness of breath, iron. Hair falling out, iron. Dry mouth, vitamin E. Brittle nails, B7. Tired all day, vitamin D, or it can be B12. Feeling low, B6. Forgetfulness, omega-3s, your essential fats. Leg cramps, magnesium. Tingling sensation in the hands, B12 again. Frequent infections, zinc again. Muscle weakness, cramps, magnesium again. Dizziness, fatigue, iron. Okay? All of these can be got from our diet. But if you're not getting them from your diet, you most certainly can supplement. But you get the best of supplements as in, get it in a powder or even liquid, go to a really good health food shop that somebody can actually guide you in the right direction. So if it isn't something, say like the cold hands or whatever, maybe it's something else. Do you know what I mean?
You have to take great care with that. I remember one time being prescribed magnesium, for example, but I got the wrong magnesium.
Yes, and then you had diarrhea or something. Yeah. You have to be. You have to go to a proper professional that knows exactly what they're talking about, you know, because there's 6 different types of magnesium, Fran. And like even with magnesium, I think people don't realise when your cortisol and adrenaline are really high, your magnesium demand increases. So chronic stress uses up magnesium really quickly. So somebody might be taking magnesium and the right magnesium and they might feel it's not making any difference at all, but it can be just the fact that your adrenals are running at such a high level, you're burning through it really quickly.
Right, so you have to be careful
expert advice as well,
where that is concerned. And where mental health is concerned, you know, I mean, we can do something pretty much immediately if we have the resolve to do so about physical health and that. Mental health is a different issue, but does one thing play into the other?
They go together, but you know, it's funny because I talk about the 5 pillars all the time, don't I? But it's one of the things I'm finding all the time. Stress and chronic stress is one, like, so people present and come to me in relation to their health, right? And it's physical health. That's what I deal with, right? But they come under so much stress that you have to actually pare back the layers to see can you actually alleviate some of the stress before you can even work on the other side. But I do say to people all the time, if you are under chronic stress, if you can actually try and sort the wood from the trees some way or another, that you're putting things down on paper to see, right, what can I do about this? If you work on the 5 pillars, it definitely helps alleviate stress. So if you can eat a little bit more well, that's number 1. You start to feel a bit better. You have to, how many times have I spoken about this? You have to drink water. If you're not hydrated, your body doesn't perform. You can't even think straight. You're knackered the whole time. This time of the year, the water should be out of the kettle. It should be warm water. That's why I was holding on to my water this morning, because I had boiling water inside in it.
Yes.
Every cell in the body will take it in so much easier if it's warm water, right? Your sleep comes if these 2 are better. So if you're not eating a big meal late at night, if you're not drinking the wine late at night, whatever, you're not waking up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning tossing and turning, right? There's 3. The next one then is the exercise. If you're really stressed, something as simple as 10 minutes. Do you know even the biggest muscle in the body is your calf muscle? And even if you're sitting at your desk, if you even just do calf raises, you're actually directing more blood flow towards your heart. That's something very simple that you're just doing under your desk. If you only walk around the building, if you do something as simple as putting your hands on your knees and introduce more nitric oxide to your brain, so it's the deep breaths into the nose for the count of 4 and holding it, these are simple things that you can do to alleviate stress. If you do those 4, it definitely helps. But I have to say, if you don't get control or manage your stress, you are in trouble. And all the people that we see with different things happening, and go back to the 300 months that I have left, I've worked for the last 12 months hugely on being present and gratitude. Those 2 words. Being present means I can only control what I'm doing here and now. Okay? I can.
And has that worked for you?
Massively. Okay. Massively, because I pull myself back to it every time I'm starting to go down rabbit holes. And we all do. We all have the family, and we all have the work, and we all have all the financial and all the other things that it's in everybody's world. But if you can be present and say, I can only control what I'm doing now. why am I anxious now? Why am I stressed now? Where's it coming from? Sometimes it can be something very simple. It can be something like the lads forgot to bring something to school. It can be something very simple, and you can alleviate it by that quick, mindset piece of why is it there? Okay, that needs to go. There's no need for me to be worried about that. And the gratitude, Fran, that has to be the biggest. You've seen Christmas. How many things have happened over Christmas, like the accidents and all the different things that have happened. Yet we continue to over-process, overthink, over-worry and over-stress over stupid things. Like even coming into work today, like you practice the gratitude and say, oh my God, we are so lucky. We can get up, we can come to work. The lads are good. We had food at Christmas. We had whatever. I even ate a couple of mine last night and said, you actually had everything you needed this Christmas. Now, cop on.
Yes.
Tomorrow starts. Be grateful. But if we can practice the gratitude piece for what we have here and now, it makes life easier.
There's an old Buddhist thing that is, you think you have 1,000 problems until you have a health problem, and then you only have one problem.
That's exactly, and isn't that so true?
Yeah. Isn't it
and
just,
we do know that, because...
Can I just finish by going back to something you alluded to earlier on? Is that people who might be battling cancer, for example, or some other chronic issue, they can still take control of the other aspects of their health.
Well, you heard there, the guy I said that was 76. Like, cancer is back again in his world, and he has COPD. But he was still able to send me a message to say he feels the best he's felt in 8 years because he took control of his lifestyle. So what we did was we reduced anything that was inflammatory in his world. So any of the foods, excess coffee, things like that, we got the balance right. So we didn't get rid of everything. Like it's funny because he said to me, I'm not allowed to use expletives on air, am I? But he said, if you're no effing good, I'll be telling you very quickly, right?
Yeah.
And he had said to me afterwards, simple things that he was left to, like have a cup of tea and a couple of biscuits, like 2 or 3 times a day. That's not going to kill anyone. But we made sure that the other things in his world were good. He was already walking, but sometimes even doing too much. So like you have to be able to walk, that you're not putting yourself under any excess stress.
Right.
He couldn't do that, and I had to pull some things like that back. Even simple things like you think you're walking even in correct footwear and you mightn't be. So we changed loads of
little things. What I love
things.
about it is it puts him in a better position then to deal with the profound health issue, if you know what I mean.
He's in a space now because he feels well every day, he can live every day.
Yeah,
so that's what he says, as in he gets up every morning feeling good.
Yeah.
So the more days he gets feeling good, the rest you don't think about. Because he's another one that's always in good form, and he practices the gratitude piece of I'm here today and I'm well today. It's funny because he said when he bent over to take his shoes off to get on the machine, when I was making him stand the body analyzer or whatever, he said under his breath, I was going to say the other word, feck her now, whatever, what's she making me do this for? Yeah. He didn't tell me that until the second time he was back, but he said he couldn't with his belly.
He wasn't able to.
He wasn't able to open the laces and stuff like that. But the second time he said, Jesus, I know I'm getting there, Muriel. I can actually open the laces today. And I said, why was that not possible the last day? So in anybody's world, no matter whatever health journey they're on, shall we say, if you can get this piece right, and you don't even need to go, you can come to somebody like me, but sometimes you don't even need to. You can actually reassess and do it simply yourself.
Right.
Go back to where we were 70 years ago, Fran.
You've seen people do this. You've seen people turn their lives around and all of that.
8 out of 10 people.
All right.
Literally.
Excellent. If people want to talk to you or Charlotte, how can they do so?
Yes. And I won't lecture. It's 062 88 002.
All right. Great to see you as always. Thanks very much indeed, Muriel. We'll take a break. We're back with more.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck On. Now is the time to pick up your next van. From the award-winning Peugeot Partner van to the Expert and the load-lugging Boxer van. We have big vans, high-roof vans, long wheelbase vans. You'll find them all at Slattery's Garage Puck On. See slatterysgarage.ie.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage Puck On. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
And you're welcome back to Tip Today. Now we're back into that routine this week, and it can be hard to get back into the swing of things. But when it comes to sleep routines, especially for babies, after a couple of weeks of late nights and disturbance and all of that, what should we be looking to? Well, Caroline Meagher is a baby sleep expert. She's been with us before on the programme, and I'm delighted to say she joins me now as well. Happy New Year to you, Caroline.
Many happy returns on to you and all your listeners.
Thank you very much indeed. babies, of course, their routine has been disturbed over Christmas as well, hasn't it?
I feel most of the time it will have been disturbed, simply because most families either have one or two working parents. You know, you're going to spend time with grandparents, family members, you might have travelled, and everything is a little bit off kilter and overwhelming, I think. You know, if we as adults you get to Stevens's Day and you're like, Christ, I'm burnt out of this already.
Yeah.
You know, and then like we look at a child or a baby, you know, and they've gotten 15 new presents. Like, they're just losing the plot, and they want to play with the toilet roll holder or the box because they cannot.
What is that, like sensory overload?
Overload,
is
complete, sensory overload. And, you know, like, if I come in and give you, 15 bottles of something, whether it's water or something else, whatever, but by the time you get to the second taste or the third taste, you're like, okay, I'm done here, you know.
That's a great analogy, yeah.
You know, and you can't. Kids just, like, they go into meltdown. You know, we can say, you know what, I'm done with this, I'll come back to it later. But when a baby or a child is in the midst of this mayhem, say on Christmas morning, which is all lovely and exciting for 20 minutes, but like an hour into it, and they just, they can have a tantrum, they can have a meltdown, they can just leave the whole lot behind and find the box.
Yeah, and of course you have visitors coming and going as well, and they all want jurisdiction over the child, and they're hugging the child, they're handing it to somebody else, and of course this is all disturbing. The whole routine.
Yeah, it's so disturbing, you know. And then as adults, what happens, I think, What can happen very easily is, as an adult, we get our nose out of joint because said child didn't behave as that adult,
as the perfect baby
thought, that they should behave. But if I handed the said adult around to 15 different people, and asked them to be entertaining and
Smiley
perform accordingly, the reaction would be very different. Like, if we look at children, small children particularly, but all kids, and if the expectation we set of them, if we could have the same intention in our own head of how we behave, and look at them and set the same, if we can help them and guide them. But if we don't have one expectation for them and think that we're superior, and we don't have to do that, like, there's a lot that gets lost in translation there for a small child.
And while it's too late now, but if you were to advise people about Christmas and say a child, maybe around the age of 1 or whatever, would you say to pull back on gifts, pull back on that overwhelming sensory experience? Would you say that?
This is what I feel. I mean, everybody has their own opinion, but I think we've become very, very materialistic. And like, if you have like a smaller baby, they just get totally overwhelmed. But if you have a toddler or a child that you can actually have a conversation with, it's like if you take them, I don't care, swimming or to the movies, or go to the park.
Yes.
If you're an aunt or an uncle or a grandparent, if you make a memory with them, your child is going to make the memory. But like, if I come into your house and say all of your family come in at the same time, and, we give a child in your home 15 presents, they haven't a goddamn clue who gave them what. And it's not that they are ungrateful, they did not ask for it, and they don't care about it. It just is all overload. So I think if we spent more time and less stuff, it's... And
can it harm them? I mean,
I wouldn't be qualified to say whether it harms them or not. That's way above, my pay grade, really. I just think time is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like if you and I go for a cup of coffee and I say, and I've only got 4 minutes, but here, I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Like, you sit there and you're like, well, why the heck did I make the effort to get up, go out and come for this coffee when you didn't even have the manners to sit and chat with me? Whereas, like, if after 30 minutes you're like, I don't want to go, but I have to go. Like, it's the time that makes the impact,
and
isn't it?
That's the great gift.
I feel it's a huge gift, yeah.
What about sleep then?
Sleep, I mean, I suppose for families that had sleep, for the want of a better description, like under control before Christmas, then whether it's Christmas or if you had a christening or a birthday party, you went on holidays and everything goes off kilter. Like, if you have a situation where you've had a positive sleep pattern, then it really is just having the mindset as parents to say, today's the day we're going to go back, to square one and start this again. A smaller child will fall into a rhythm, very quickly with a little bit of consistency. And then for a child that, you can have the conversation with and understand, it's like, don't talk them to death, but literally say, you know what, today we're going back to like our sleep pattern, whatever our bedtime rhythm was, because we're all, instead of putting the onus on the baby or the child and saying, you will go to bed and you will sleep, say, we're all tired and we all need to get back into a routine, because we're encompassing the whole family. Particularly like a toddler will have an easier time accepting that, because they don't have FOMO. They don't fear like that, oh, Mummy and Daddy want me to do this.
Okay.
But they're going to continue the party without me, kind of thing, if we have this explanation that we're all going to do it together. And it literally is like like we're all tired. We all need to get back to that pattern.
Yeah, it's interesting. How long should you give yourself to get that back on track again?
Well, I suppose how long is a piece of string? I mean, if something is going on for a month, well, then we need to find a different way, because
there's something there.
There's something amiss, But like, realistically, I suppose not setting a time frame, but if you had a really good rhythm beforehand and now you want to get back into that, like, don't expect it to work over 24 hours. But if every day you get up and you've made a small step forward, like within a week or 10 days, if you can continue to take small steps within that period of time, you're going to find a pattern again, right? Where it's not this constant fight. But if it goes on for longer than a week or 10 days, then we probably need to make some small adjustments to what we're doing.
Of course, often, I mean, they have, from a very early age, they have this ability to play the parents, though. Have you to be careful about that? Where do you draw that line? I mean, do you let them be a little bit upset and let them... where do you draw the line there?
I look at everybody... People are, I suppose, clients that work with me will work with me because I work in a particular way, and then you can have somebody else that has completely different ideas.
Sure, yeah.
I think, like, when you begin a pattern, if you feed into it, and for a child it's not bad behaviour, they're just dysregulated. That they can't, because we have changed the pattern for, say, the 2 weeks over Christmas. They need to learn, we need to kind of coach them along that they can get back into a better pattern. But somewhere along the line, you're going to have tears.
Yes.
You just are.
And what do you do? Do you allow that to happen? Or do you react to that immediately, or do you hold back? Or?
For me... crying is, like, laughing is an emotion, and we would never, ever tell our child to stop laughing. And crying is another emotion, and not allowing your child to have time. Like, we don't want to leave a child abandoned or hysterical anywhere. But if a child just needs to whinge and whine and get some distress out of their system and then be able to go to sleep, we can't tell them to stop crying,
Yes.
Like, in this world that we live in, it's like, if you see a little while ago, I saw a couple in the park and their little boy, and like, I think it was a granddad and his son, and like, lovely dynamic of a family. But the little boy had cried, and the granddad had said to him, big boys don't cry, big boys don't cry.
Ouch.
And the granddad was doing it through love.
Yes, of course. Yeah.
But like when I was looking at it, I was like, oh Christ, that poor child. Because, look at the world that we live in.
Yes. It's the wrong message, isn't it? Really
well, it's an emotion. Crying is an emotion. And we as adults, most of us will cry at some time or other. And you need that emotional release. And there's a difference between crying and just like walking away and not taking care of your child. You have to find the balance, but sometimes allowing your child a little bit of time to regulate and have that cry, and then you can figure out.
I read a piece over the weekend and I was really intrigued about it, and I'd love your opinion on it. It was about a baby who appeared to be having night terrors. It was a very, very young baby. Would you have come across that in your own experience?
Night terrors usually don't start in a young baby. Like a baby will...
The description was the baby appeared to be distressed in her sleep.
But the baby was asleep?
Yes. Yeah.
All right. And if the baby is asleep, and even if they're like mooching around in their cot or, trying to find they may have been teething where they have a little bit of discomfort, but because they have a sleep pattern, they're sleeping through this discomfort. Yes. Or maybe they were in the park and somebody took their ball and they're processing it whilst they're asleep because they're tired. But for a baby that's crying, like obviously if your child is really distressed, they're going to wake up.
Okay. Right.
Like if, they are going to wake up. But if a child is asleep and kind of they're mooching around their cot or their bed or whatever it is, like us intervening, if it makes you feel better as a parent to be present in that room, then do. But like picking your child up and taking them out of that.
Yeah, the advice you're given is almost identical to the advice that was given in the problem page, which was amazing because I couldn't help but comment at it from the angle, God, the child is distressed and asleep, the poor pet and all of that. But you're saying to me, no, not necessarily at all.
Well, if your child needs you, I mean, like you'll recognise this own. If your child needs you, they're going to call you and say, hey, Dad.
Yeah.
And if they cannot speak, a small baby, if they're fed and like their nappy is dry and they're warm and they're in a safe space, if they wake up and they're uncomfortable, they're not going to say, hey, Dad, but they're going to call you. They have wonderful lungs.
They do indeed. So final piece of advice then, if you're trying to get the baby back into the routine, what do you say then?
For a family that have had a rhythm, say pre-Christmas, wherever you started, like look at that rhythm and begin to put it back into action. If you have a toddler, like have that quick conversation at dinner time, tonight we're gonna, like everybody's gonna go to bed, and just preset their little brain that we're not having a disco when we go into the bedroom.
Right.
Kind of setting that calm space in the bedroom and helping everybody find a rhythm.
If you hadn't that routine or maybe hadn't it completely nailed down, you can start, I guess, can't you?
Well, you can always start. Yeah. So parents start when, some babies are younger. Sometimes parents will come to me when their child is a toddler. You only can start as a parent when you are physically and mentally ready. And unfortunately, that usually comes to the stage where you wake up one day and said, I literally cannot do this nonsense anymore. I need help.
Right. And that's when they ring you.
Oh, yes. Nobody ever calls me and said, our life is wonderful, Owen, let's make it a little bit better. Because you can't help it. You don't need to help a family when they're in a happy and perfect situation.
Of course, yeah. If people want to talk to you, Caroline, and get some advice and maybe come and meet you, how can they do that?
I suppose my main, the way I mainly promote myself is through Instagram.
Yes.
And it's my name, Caroline Meagher, and that's Meagher. And yeah, I mean, that's the biggest way to contact.
Okay.
And from there, then, I'll give out the phone number and you make, a consultation and you take it from there.
Very great.
Small steps, Owen, like nothing is done in 24 hours. It really is steps according to each family's ability.
All right, so Caroline Meagher, that's Meagher on Instagram. Caroline, good to see you again. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you so much,
We'll take
Owen.
a break, back with more.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, puck on. It's time to change. Test drive the award-winning range of Peugeot hybrids and fully electric vehicles at Slattery's Garage today. See slatterysgarage.ie.
If it matters to you, it matters to us. Call Tipp Today on 1-800-938-007.
Now, our relationship expert, Susan O'Donoghue, is with me in studio. Good morning to you, Susan, and Happy New Year to you. And speaking of the new year, you're going to have a look at the new year as well. I mean, I was talking to Muriel earlier on about this, and she was saying, she's not into resolutions all that much, and you have to be careful about resolutions. Are you a resolution type person, are you?
I'm not I wouldn't say I get these big waves like we all do, and I'm going to do this, and it doesn't work. That's my experience of it anyway. And I suppose for me, that kind of self-reflection is the biggest part I found that has worked. Right, so for me it's always about how am I going to get to know myself better in 2026, how am I going to understand what my needs are better, right? Because we all think, I want to lose weight, or I want to get a different job, or I want to do this, I want to. But unless we know ourselves better, consciously better now, I know we know ourselves anyway, but the unconscious stuff really, I think, kind of stops us from moving forward. So unless we bring that to consciousness, how now am I going to know what I really want and what I really need? And I think that's the key for me. So for me, I always think for this year now, and for last year and the year before, and every year since I started working on myself in this kind of a way, it's been hugely beneficial that my life is moving in the direction I wanted to move in.
Yes.
Because I'm getting to know myself better.
But isn't that a fantastic place to be in?
Well, it is, but I don't think we're ever fully there, Fran. I think it's a work in progress the whole time. And I don't think anybody's further ahead than anybody else, because I know when I started this, that was my thing.
Yeah.
I'm miles behind everyone else. How will I ever catch up, right? And that's that self-doubt again, which is there for a reason, and we know that. But I just think that it's not about that you're in competition with anybody else, right? You're in competition with yourself to be the best you can be for yourself now, not for anybody else. That's the key. It's how now am I going to take care of myself in the best possible way I can this year, and wrap myself up in cotton wool like I would my little child, my best friend, someone who I really love. How am I going to do that for myself this year?
To be nice and decent to ourselves.
Because remember, if I have it for myself, it's automatic for everybody else. There's no effort involved.
I don't mean to be sort of grinchy about this, but it's very difficult. Susan.
It's not an easy process, no, because the world isn't set up that way for us anymore. When you look, like one of my things was in December, I didn't turn on the news, say, for the 2 weeks I was off, right? But then it drifts in and out, and people say, did you hear he did this? Or, we're talking about Trump seems to be every day, there's something new in the news. And it's kind of like that kind of news drifts in and out. I heard a lot about him. And, I was trying to keep away from it.
Yeah.
Because I do think that you have a more peaceful existence without all that chaos. Because there's nothing we can do about most of it anyway.
Yes.
So...
But still, you have to be kind of aware of what's going on.
Some of it, but we don't. I think, like for me, I was getting up every morning and I'd listen to maybe 10 minutes of the news.
Yes, okay.
And does that set your day up, or does it do the opposite?
Yeah.
Yeah, because
you see, I'm forced into a situation where this program is concerned. Obviously, like every day, you're into the nitty gritty of it, and it does take a toll.
It does. Of course, it does. Yeah. It's bound to, because you're starting your day off, right? And I was doing this myself every 10 minutes, first 10 minutes of every morning. Cup of tea, sit down, and the news would go on, and then I'd be going, "Oh my God!" before I'd even started, right? So. Now what I try and do is, this is my take now for the new year, is I'm going to try and do something that lifts me up in the morning.
Yes.
Maybe do a small bit of an old stretch. Those things that with my age you have to start doing or you fall apart. So it's kind of like, what would I like to do? And it's not about doing 4 hours of intense workout. It's about what would make me feel better now, starting off in the day.
Yeah.
Like if somebody came to you and they said, God, I'm feeling, a bit whatever in the mornings. What would you say to them to do? Would you tell them, well, now you need to go to the gym, you need to do intense training for 3 hours because that'll make you feel better by January or February or March or April or May 2027, right? Because that's kind of what happens, because it never happens, because the expectation is too big, and the thing about it is, it's kindness, care and love. To me is what works. It's not about this beating yourself up to make you do stuff, because it doesn't work in the long term. It just doesn't, because it's too horrible and uncomfortable.
Put us on the path to doing something about that.
Right,
then,
my suggestion would be, and this is only a suggestion because everybody's going to be different and it's what sits right for you, right? So I know that Christmas can be whatever. It could be lovely because you can meet up with family that you want to meet up with. It can be the opposite. You might have to meet up with family you don't want to even see, right? And then there's people who are lonely as well, right? So when we take all this into consideration, you can start off your new year most years pretty, distressed or upset or whatever. So I would say one of the best things I've ever done was write stuff down. It works for some people. Most people, I'd say, would say they feel a benefit out of it.
Yes.
But just to write down, if it's 2 minutes a day, oh my God, today was really hard, or, I felt today was okay, I felt like I managed it okay, then get into it every day. Just put down your little snippet. Maybe takes you 2 seconds when you get up in the morning before you go to bed, whatever it is about what just happened. And then just say, well, how's that sitting for me now? Is it okay? Is there something that I would like different if I could? And then have a think about, I wonder what could I do around that now to make it different. This might take a month to sort this out, even to get to that stage, right? And that's the thing. It's about the kindness towards yourself. It's about no pressure, no pushing myself, no I have to, I shoulds and I must. Yeah, that's all the unconscious, remember. I have to, I should and I must. So take those out of it. Say, what do I need and what feels right? Because we always know what feels right for us. I got a sense of this news thing in the morning isn't sitting right for me. Yeah. So then I changed it. I just have to take care of myself in it now. That's how I feel. So I don't slip back into watching the news. Because remember, it's a habit and it's a routine, isn't it? Getting up and having your cup of tea and switching on the news.
And speaking of habit and routine, if it has been our habit and routine to be completely critical of ourselves all day, every day for 40 years... Yeah. Turning that around, I would imagine, is not easy. But again, the first step to that is what?
The first step to me is recognising it's happening.
Right.
It's acknowledging it, right? Then it's understanding that we don't criticise ourselves or beat ourselves up for no reason. There's all behaviour makes sense. So there's a reason why we've been doing that. And then maybe you'll need support to look at that, because maybe it could be very intense for some, and I'm sure if it's going on 40 years it is. Yeah. Maybe you might need a bit of support around that to look at that, right? So maybe it's about being gentle with yourself and thinking, you know what, I am hard on myself, and I do see that, it's coming from a place, but I'm not sure where it's coming from. So how now am I going to understand where it's coming from? Because remember, if we don't understand something consciously, we can't change it. Right? Because if I'm not conscious of what's happening for me, then how am I ever going to make a conscious change around it? I can't if I'm not conscious of it. So that's where the writing stuff down comes into. That's where the reflection piece comes into. And I suppose for me, I'd sit at the end of the day sometimes and think to myself, am I all right today? How was it for me? You know what I mean? And that might be just before I go to sleep. Because what I find is if I don't ask myself those questions, and if I don't take care of myself in that, my sleep is interrupted.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
And this is I see it as it can impact everything else in our lives then. Because remember, we're not just one thing. We're a whole, we're emotions, we're physical, we're the whole lot together. So we need to take care of it in that sense, because one thing will tip the other thing off. So if I'm not feeling okay emotionally, right, and if I'm struggling mentally, or if I'm whatever, it can impact my physical hugely. So it's about how now do I take care of my emotions, I think are, for me, what impacts most stuff. Because if I'm emotionally okay, I will feel good about working out. I'll feel good about, going for a walk. I'll feel good about, meeting other people who are maybe saying critical things about me. I'll know that's about them and not about me, and I'll be able to hand it back. But if I'm stressed out and I'm upset and things aren't going right for me emotionally, all those things get blurred. I can't hand back someone else's stuff to them because I'm not in a place to. I'm so distressed and upset myself that their stuff just loads on top of my stuff, and now I have more stuff on top of more stuff. So it's about clearing it away. Do you know the way they say declutter?
Yeah, sure.
It's a bit like that.
But you're decluttering your mind.
You're decluttering your emotions, your mind. You're looking at how it is for you. You're asking the questions, what's my need in this? Where do I need to go? What sits right for me? Sometimes we get into these habits and we just do the same thing over and over again. We get really upset. We don't know why we're getting upset, but we know that something's really not right. And that's where the reflection piece comes into it. How do I find out now what's making me so upset? Because remember, our feelings are about us and for us. They're not against us. So our feelings are there to support us to find this out.
I think you alluded to a huge thing earlier on when you spoke about comparison, because we're in a culture of comparison.
It's horrendous.
Social media. I mean, we're all comparing ourselves to these perfect creatures who are perfectly talented and perfectly looking and all of that. That's a huge difficulty, isn't it?
It is, but it's think about it, right? This is social media. These people are perfect on social media. But how is their lives when they're not on social media? What is it that they're not putting up? Because nobody gets away scot-free in my experience.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as the perfect anything. We're perfect in ourselves and in our beings. And it's part of life's, I suppose, mystery or whatever you want to call it, to negotiate the hard times and to be able to look at the challenges that come against us and think, how am I going to take care of myself best in this? That's what real growth is, isn't it? I don't think I've ever grown from anything that's been all fluffy and nice. I think my real growth has been from stuff that's been really hard.
That you learn from.
Like you learn huge lessons, you know. And I'm not saying it's hugely painful at times, hugely painful, you know. And that's where the mind in yourself comes into it. That's where, how now am I going to take best care of myself because I deserve it and I need it.
Yeah. We were talking earlier on about babies, and an interesting thing came up about, sensory overload and being overwhelmed by stuff. And of course, that can happen to adults.
Of course it does.
Big time, particularly around Christmas time.
It's to me like Christmas. I like Christmas, but then everybody doesn't. But to me, Christmas time is about just relaxing. Right,
yes.
It's not about, and I told you that before, I've told the story that most Christmas days in our house, if someone comes in, they take us as they find us. If we're in our pyjamas, we're in our pyjamas. If we're, you know what I mean?
Yeah, sure,
that's just how we are. If the dogs are up on the couch, the dogs are up on the couch. That's how we roll. So to me, it's about, that's how I take care of myself in it. Now, I must say, this Christmas, I was ready to go back to work. Oh my God, I thought I was going to go stir crazy because there was a couple of, like, my family would have got the flu and the bugs and the whole lot. So I felt like we were nearly locked in the house.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is a reminder of COVID. I'm off.
Yeah,
so
sure.
any chance I got, I was out walking with the dog, or I was out, the poor dog, his legs walked off. But it was a kind of a sense of that. How am I going to take care of myself in this? Because I did feel like it was long this year. I don't know if anyone else feel that. Maybe it was just mine.
Yeah, well, what happens to me is I can't wait for holidays, and then a couple of days in I'm bored.
Yeah. What am I going to do now? Only so many Christmas movies you can watch.
And how can the whole world manage without me?
Oh, that's interesting, isn't it? That's not, I don't feel that at all now. I think they'll be grand.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether they are or not, says you. Yeah, it's interesting. So, a couple of things then to keep in mind for this. If we're making resolutions, they're gentle ones. Is that it?
I would say, look, it's always about, measure expectations. Yeah, it's about, like, would I tell my friend to go and do all this in the one, and have it finished by the end of January and be fit and be ready for the new year? No, I wouldn't. So why would I do it to myself? Yeah, it's about looking at things, say, like, if you're passive, what do I need to do around it to be able to assert myself better? Do I feel like a bit of a doormat for people? Do I feel like I'm the one, the carer, that people are always coming to me? And if so, how does that feel for me? And what am I getting out of it? Because I wouldn't be doing it unless I was getting something out of it, right? And generally it's because you're seen and because you're recognised and because people, kind of flock to you when they're in trouble, and then you feel like you're important, yeah? Let's call a spade a spade. So what am I going to do around it now for myself? And generally what I'm giving out to somebody else is what I most need from myself. So if I'm the carer and I'm giving loads of care to everybody else, it's care for myself I need, really. But I'm just projecting it onto everybody else, yeah? So that's part of it. Do I need boundaries? Yeah, how is it for me to say no? Because that's one of the hardest, I think, the smallest and the hardest words in the dictionary. Yeah? So how do I feel about saying no to people? Do I feel like they won't like me anymore? Do I feel like what's underneath it? It's not just the fact that I don't like saying no. There's more stuff underneath that, right?
And you can teach yourself to look underneath things.
It's about understanding why.
Yeah.
It's not about changing it, remember, because these things have got us to where we are and we've survived with them. These are like survival skills we put in place, right? So it's never about getting rid of them. It's about understanding, oh my God, what's the benefit in this for me? What's it actually doing for me here now? If I say, yes to this person all the time, will they like me more? Is that what my need is? I need someone to like me more. And then why do I need somebody to like me more? More than what? Where did I not get those needs met as a child? Maybe.
Yeah.
Just throwing it out.
Some of those answers mightn't be comfortable.
Oh, well, look, as I said before, I never learned anything through nice puffy stuff. It's always the hard stuff you learn it through. And that's the key. Yeah. It's about, and that's why I'm saying, like, for myself, I was lucky because I did this in college and I had support and I did it and I did a master's and I had support in that. And then I still go for one-to-ones because it's part of my profession that's part of it. And I'm very lucky to be able to accept support.
But it is life-changing.
It's absolutely the best thing I've ever done in my life. Yeah. And it starts off with writing small things down every day. Yeah.
It's good advice as always. If people want to talk to you, Susan?
Sure, it's 086 3676 256 or info@emotionalwellbeing.ie.
All right. Always great to see you. Thanks very much indeed, Susan. That's it for me. Ellie produced. Stephen has the Time Tunnel on the Lunchtime Show, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Look after yourselves. Bye-bye.
Tip FM's Tip Today.
With Slattery's Garage, Puckon. Main Peugeot dealers in the Premier County. And now stocking the full range of the luxury French car brand DS Automobiles. Book your test drive today with Slattery's Garage, Puckon. See slatterysgarage.ie.